St. Lucie Public Schools is the home to exemplary educators whose passion and commitment to the students they serve knows no bounds. Each year, the St. Lucie Education Foundation, along with St. Lucie Public Schools, has the privilege of recognizing teachers selected to represent their individual schools as Teachers of the Year.
Hello and welcome to the 2016 Teacher of the Year interviews for the fantastic teachers here in St. Lucie Public Schools. Throughout the history of the world, great teachers have inspired, comforted, persuaded, and motivated. All of us recall a certain teacher, a very special someone who inspired us to learn. In addition, all of us have sat in the classroom of many great teachers. Regardless of their fields of study, they were all visionaries who led by example and whose actions transformed our lives. Every day, we, along with 100 million parents, entrust our children with teachers. They instruct them, discipline them, guide them, coach them, and inspire them to fulfill their potential. They teach social skills as well as social studies, self-esteem as well as spelling, citizenship as well as science, tolerance as well as typing, and enthusiasm for learning as well as content mastery. They have to be counselors, mentors, friends, surrogate parents, disciplinarians, as well as masters of their subject matter. This program presents some very extraordinary men and women whose timeless wisdom echoes the integrity, strength, character, and passion of educators all across our district and across our nation. This program is a tribute to all teachers and celebrates the special and often heroic role they play in students' lives. This program is in our small way an opportunity to say thank you to those who educate, encourage, empower, and inspire the students of our world and the students of St. Lucie County. And with that, we want to welcome to our interviews from Manatee Academy, Miss Robin Hanna. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
First of all, let me start off by saying congratulations to you for being selected as our Teacher of the Year. And in addition, you brought with you your very fine principal, Miss Lily Beauchamp, who's sitting in with us as well. Miss Beauchamp, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Now, Miss Hanna, being the Teacher of the Year is something that we all have enjoyed along the way. So, because we want our viewing audience to get to know you, briefly introduce yourself, tell us what grades you teach, or grades that you have taught, as well as subjects that you teach.
My name is Robin Hanna, and I am a teacher at Manatee Academy, K-8 school. I teach 8th grade reading, and I am endorsed as well in exceptional student education and in ESOL.
Great. Where did you attend school and what was your program of study? What's your certification?
I actually recently attended college in 2011 right here at Indian River State College, and my certification is in ESE.
Okay. Now, you said that you teach reading, but there's more to teaching reading than what we naturally think of. So tell us what all teaching reading entails.
Well, I've taught intensive reading, I've taught regular reading, I've taught advanced reading. And many times, especially with intensive reading, kids come into that classroom not knowing how to read. They're a couple of grade levels below where they should be. So they might already be acting out. They're not happy to be in that class. They know they can't read. The entire class is made up of kids that can't read. So before I even teach reading, I have to teach them to have confidence in themselves again. I have to teach them that it's okay to make mistakes. I don't care what you got on the FSA last year. I don't care what you got on the FCAP 2 years ago. Today is a brand new year, and together we're going to be successful.
That's why we say teachers have to motivate. They have to help build self-esteem as well as teach content and mastery. Now, you've been selected Teacher of the Year, auspicious honor. So what's your favorite part of teaching?
Probably when a student gets it.
That aha.
Yes. And it's interesting because I number all of my desks and I pull out desk numbers every time I want to ask a student a question. And at the beginning of the year, you can see the kids like this begging me not to call their desk.
Don't call on me. Yes. Almost hiding from me.
Yes, exactly. And literally by the first couple of weeks of school, I've got kids saying, when I don't call their number.
No, I got it.
So not only do they understand what they're learning, but they're willing to share what they've learned. And that's huge.
Now, in the world that we live in, students are always doing this. Either it's the game that they're playing or they're on their phones and they're teaching us how to Snapchat, how to tweet, how to Facebook. How do you infuse technology into your daily instruction?
Technology, it's not just about putting a kid on a computer or putting a kid on the
Correct.
phone. It's so much more than that. It could be as simple as playing an audio version of a book so that they can listen while they're reading.
And in reading, they hear what it should sound like, where the
Exactly.
punctuation is,
Fluency
the rise and
is
fall.
key.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Other ways I'll use it, for example, right before winter break, one of our vocabulary words was anticipation. And I remember as a kid, and you might remember this too, this Heinz commercial on TV. Anticipation.
It's making me wait.
So I looked up on YouTube the commercials from 1970,
Oh,
and I
awesome.
played 2 of those videos for the kids, and they laughed. It was not what they were used to seeing. But,
Very different technology, right?
But you know what? I could have had them look up the word in the dictionary, write a sentence. They wouldn't have gotten it that way. So there's a simple way to use technology.
Now, we talk about DQ5, which is a part of our instructional methods, part of our evaluation, part of how we deliver instruction. DQ5 is all about engagement. So how do you plan engagement in your lessons?
I'm a very engaging teacher. So it comes simple in that
So the
sense.
whole world is a stage
Yes,
in
it
your
So I kind of think of it like a director would think of his movie premiere or his movie, whatever you call that thing, the trailer. I have to get their attention. I have to make them want to attend to my lesson like that director would want those people to go to his movie.
Got it.
So I have to bring excitement in. I have to bring something in that will get their attention. And those are the things I do, like finding that video with that commercial. That got their attention, all right. And those are the things that I'll do.
As Teacher of the Year, it's just naturally known that you're highly involved across the campus. Is there something that really sticks out or that's just got you going that you're actively involved in this year at Manatee?
Well, I'm very involved in our PBIS. And one of the most rewarding things with PBIS is I'm constantly giving out Manatee dollars, and I want them to have the proper expectations, and I tell them thank you for what they're doing, and I'll walk into the cafeteria, and you should see the elementary school kids. As soon as they see me, they know that they're supposed to go like that and be quiet and be attentive. So when the kids are running around and they see me, they want to earn that Manatee dollar, and that's rewarding.
Now, I can tell you about Miss Madison, 5th grade teacher, Risley Elementary School. And at that time, we had brag books where everybody wrote in your brag book, and she wrote, Kevin, don't be sharp. Use a little musical sharp sign. Don't be flat, the flat sign. Be natural. And then I went on to study music. Is there someone that inspired you to become a teacher?
My 6th grade teacher, Mrs. Grauer from Mount Sinai Elementary School in New York, and she taught us, she actually treated us like her own kids, and you were comfortable in her classroom. And that's what I do. My kids in my classroom, they are my kids for that, not even just that year. They go on and on and on and be my kids, and that's how I am with my students as well.
So is that when you decided to be a teacher?
Probably so.
Probably so?
Maybe even sooner.
Okay, okay. What advice would you give to students or their parents to help ensure that they are a success, especially with reading, because we know those who read succeed. So what advice do you give?
Celebrate the successes. Focus on what you have accomplished, not what you didn't accomplish. Learn from your mistakes. Mistakes are proof you're trying. If you don't have a mistake, then you didn't do anything. So I want my kids to think positively, and we focus on what they can do, not what they can't do.
Okay. Ms. Beauchamp, let me add you to our great conversation that me and Mrs. Hanna are having at this time. But because we want everybody to know the fantastic principal at Manatee Academy K School as well, please introduce yourself and give us a little bit of your background, because we know you were a teacher assistant. Just give us all of that.
Well, this is entering my 5th year at Manatee Academy, and prior to that I was an assistant principal at Fort Pierce Central for 7 years.
Go Cobras.
Yes, of course. And prior to that I was a guidance counselor for 6 years at a middle school, St. Lucie West Middle School, and 3 years as an elementary counselor. So I've had a wide breadth of experiences coming into being a principal at Manatee Academy.
Okay, Mrs. Hanna teaches reading. And we know that principals are always visiting classrooms and watching and looking and learning and seeing and helping implement instruction. What is it that you see when you visit Mrs. Hanna's reading class?
Well, just from the little bit of time that we've had to chat here with you this morning, Dr. Perry, you can see how enthusiastic she is. And when we talk about engagement, we talk about the students really being into whatever it is that Ms. Hanna is presenting. She's enthusiastic, you know, whether they're reading a passage, whether they're reading out loud, whether they're working in groups together. There's always that sense of wanting to please the teacher, obviously, because she's built that relationship with them. So between building relationships and keeping them engaged for, you know, the full amount of time that they're in the classroom, and, you know, you can walk in the pod, you know, we have pods, and you can see that the students are enthusiastic, whether they're actually going into her classroom or whether they're transitioning into another classroom. They're, you know, encouraged by Ms. Hanna to do their best, just as exactly as she's spoken this today.
Now, Mrs. Hanna mentioned to me that she is really enthused about the PBIS, but we all know that once you rise to the ranks of Teacher of the Year for your school, you're heavily involved. So what else can you tell us about the activities or things that Mrs. Hanna participates in?
Well, she kind of downplayed her participation in PBIS. So
is she the lead?
She is the lead person in our PBIS program.
Okay, you made your job, Ms. Hanna. You didn't tell us that.
No, she is our lead cheerleader for PBIS. She's coordinating the meetings. She's chairing the committee. She's organizing the events. And at a K-8 with PBIS, when you're encouraging positive behavior interventions in a school, it's difficult sometimes because there's different levels of engagement with, you know, encouraging behavior, positive behavior, when you have elementary students who are always working for those Manatee dollars versus the middle school students who maybe have different levels of what they would like to see, you know, for, you know, working towards. And so Ms. Hanna, along with her team, is very into making sure that we're reaching all students so that we see that wide breadth of positive behavior and expectations throughout the whole campus. So between, you know, working at basketball games, dances, cocoa, Sundays, everywhere she's there working.
That's usually what happens when you're the Teacher of the Year. You're everywhere, lending a helping hand to ensure that everything works extremely well for our awesome students. Mrs. Beauchamp, describe Ms. Hanna using 3 adjectives.
Enthusiastic, obviously, committed, and dedicated. You know, in the time that she's been with us at Manatee, she has certainly proven her dedication and commitment to the students and staff members at our school.
Ms. Hanna, Mrs. Hanna, here's an easy question for you. What impact do you have on your students' college and or career readiness?
It's interesting you asked me that question, because when I hear college and career readiness, I almost want to step back for a minute. I like to think of it as college and or career readiness, because if students know that they can't get to college, whether it be financially or academically, they may give up very early on. So I want to make sure that I reach all those kids, because we have trades that are very important that may not need a college education. If you want to be a firefighter, maybe I'll have them look up, why do you need to read if you're going to be a firefighter? You're just putting out fires. Why do I need math? Well, there's calibration of the water when you're putting out a fire. So if I can have their interest and know what they want to be later, then I can make sure that they're having the right impact and be successful in school today.
I am so glad I asked that question correctly when I said college and or career ready. I'm glad I got it right. Here's a good one for you. Why are you a teacher? Why are you a teacher?
I think I want to be there to guide the kids that need it. Students, sometimes they get to a crossroad and they don't know which way to go. And I want to be there with them at that intersection, and I want to help them get on the right path to where they need to be. And sometimes they don't all have mentors, they don't have teachers, they don't have people that they can go to help them. They're in middle school, they're at a really funky age right now where they could go right or they could go wrong. And I want to make sure that they're going on that right path.
Let me ask this question, and I know we're talking about you as a teacher at this time and at your work at Manatee, but teachers affect eternity, they affect the world, everything that goes on. So I asked this question, and I'll leave it just open for you. What do you know for sure?
I know for sure that I'm at the right place at the right time with the right kids.
Ms. Bocha, I love that. I love that. That's why, because even being at the right place at the right time with the right kids, it's really back related to education, but it's so much more because they will once again transition to something else, and being at the right place is preparing them for whatever it is that they may want. Mrs. Beauchamp, what makes your Teacher of the Year the perfect candidate for this honor?
I think it goes back to exactly what we talked about, which is, those three adjectives that describe Ms. Hanna. And she's totally dedicated to the students. She's making a difference. She works with children. We see learning gains in the students that she works with. And while we talk about testing and the importance of testing, she is the full picture. She's not only about testing, she's about seeing them growing and about relationship building and being out there working with students in the community. She's just perfect.
Mrs. Hanna, just a couple more questions for you. Okay. When will you know that you are a success?
Well, when a grandmother calls me because she's raising her grandson and she says, thank you for being there for him. When a student texts me in 9th grade and says, thank you for not giving up on me. When a mom emails me and says her daughter passed the FSA in reading for 10th grade, those are great success stories. But I know that I'll be a success when my students know that they're a success within themselves.
Mrs. Beauchamp, last question for you. Is there anything else that you want to tell us about Mrs. Hanna?
Well, I think it's important to know about Ms. Hanna that she is a second career person. And so while we sometimes, think about how teachers have moved up in the ranks, and she mentioned being at the right place at the right time. Well, she was at the right place at the right time as a student teacher at Dan McCarty, when I brought her on board to be a permanent teacher at Manatee Academy. And she, again, being a second career person and having those outside experiences, I think proves someone's true dedication to wanting to be a teacher. Because you could follow one path, but when you know that maybe that isn't the correct path and you can veer off to the right path and really make a difference, and that's exactly what she's doing. I think that's key to being a successful teacher, and she certainly has exemplified that.
Mrs. Hanna, finish this phrase for me. I believe
that all children are capable of success.
No exceptions. No exceptions. Oh, Mrs. Hanna, Mrs. Beauchamp, it has been a pleasure speaking with you. And I just want to leave this with you as we continue to tell you thank you, and as you continue to inspire our students to reach higher heights. Please always remember that great teaching comes not from behind the desk, but from behind the heart. And we so thank you for the heart that you give to our students each and every day.
You're welcome.
Hart, what's going on?
I'm leaving.
Why? What did I do?
Not enough. You constantly ignore me. You barely eat anything healthy. You're half as active as you used to be. The pressure is just too much. I quit.
Okay, I get it. I'll do better. Just, please, don't leave.
Okay. But remember, if I go, you go.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
And at this time, we want to welcome to our Teacher of the Year celebration show, Ms. Kay DeAguiar from Bayshore Elementary School. Welcome.
Thank you.
And she's brought along with her awesome principal, Miss Lori Reed. Mrs. Reed, we welcome you also.
Thank you.
It is such a pleasure for us to have the opportunity to speak with all of the fantastic teachers that are representing their schools as the Teacher of the Year. But because we want to take this opportunity for our viewing audience to also learn a little bit about you, would you please introduce yourself to our viewers?
Well, my name is Katie Aguiar, and I teach at Bayshore Elementary, teach 2nd grade. I do have an inclusion classroom. I've been teaching for 9 years, and I moved here from Virginia about 10 years ago, and decided that I was a career changer, and decided to do my lifelong dream as being a teacher. So yeah, I love it.
So you told us that you have an inclusion classroom, because everybody may not know. Give us a brief history of explanation of what that is.
Well, we have general ed students, and then we have students with disabilities, and we put them in the same classroom, and so everybody gets the same education. And we have inclusion teachers that do come in to support myself and the students with the regular ed curriculum.
Okay, you said that you were a career changer, so I want to ask, where did you attend college? What was your major? And now that you are an educator, what is your certification?
I graduated from Old Dominion University.
Oh, do you?
Yes,
okay.
I did, from Norfolk, Virginia. That's where I'm from. I'm born and raised. I was a history major. And I was a history major, and I didn't pursue education because I started a family, and when you start a family, things kind of get brushed aside.
Yeah, we kind of changed directions.
So when we moved down to Florida, and we saw that there was such a teacher shortage, and I ended up attending classes at Indian River State College, which was IRCC when I went there. I went to the EPI program, and I got my certification in general ed, K to 6.
Okay, we're glad to have you.
Oh, I love
We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
What subjects do you teach in your class?
I teach all subjects.
Yeah, now,
I teach everything.
Give us a little bit about that.
I teach science, social studies, reading, writing, and math. And I incorporate everything from science and social studies within reading and math and everything.
I know in some elementary schools, some teachers may teach 2 subjects, they departmentalize that kind of thing, but you guys still under all the language, social studies, science. Yeah, okay. Okay, Ms. DeAguiar, what's your favorite part of teaching?
My favorite part of teaching, I enjoy working with my teachers and coming up with a curriculum and coming up with lessons that I know my students will love. And my absolute favorite part is when I see my students excel. When I see my students that are my ESOL students that do not speak any English at home, and they come to school and they're able to read and to actually comprehend English. I see my inclusion students that start with no sight words recognition to, at the end of a quarter, seeing those sight words. So my students.
With the world that we live in, our students are so involved with technology. Something is always in their hands that technology-based. How do you infuse in technology into your planning and instruction?
Well, most of my instruction is through PowerPoint and through visuals. A lot of my students do not have that background and do not have the schema. So I bring out the outside into the classroom by showing pictures and things like that to get them involved. I want to maybe later incorporate some iPad technology through Donors Choose. I'd like to get more technology within the classroom like that.
Now, I heard you mention during your intro that you wanted to fulfill a lifelong dream.
Yes.
So have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher? And if not, when did you know?
I've always known. My mom has always known I was going to be a teacher. When we were younger, we'd played classroom and in the house, and I just always knew. I always had a knack for children, and they were able to trust me and know that when I'm teaching them, that they know that I really care. So yeah, I've always known. I've always known.
When you think back to your time as a student, along the way, elementary school, middle school, high school, or even college, is there someone that inspired you to become a teacher?
Well, there are a few. My second grade teacher, I guess that's why I love second grade, Miss McGann. She was at B.M. Williams Elementary School, and she was amazing. And all the way through college, I remember my college courses and just going and listening to the history instructors, just understanding the way I learn, and I wanted to give that to my students. It's amazing what teachers can do for you.
What advice would you give to a new teacher?
Ask questions. Never be afraid. Never think you know everything. There's always things that you don't know, and to ask. And there is always somebody there that's going to help you.
Always someone that's willing
Always.
to. Yes.
Always.
Yes. DQ5 in our instructional delivery strategies is all about engagement. How do you specifically plan engagement for students when you're developing your lessons?
We plan engagement. Since I teach second grade, they love that hands-on, the actual learning themselves and feeling that they are more involved in their learning than I am with just teaching them. So just like when we planned our Native American unit, they did lots of projects. They were able to see that a teepee, you need to 8 buffalo to make 1 teepee, and how they made just the certain things that they learn, and hands-on.
Okay, Ms. Diaguiar, for you to be the Teacher of the Year, I know that you're involved on the campus. Is there one thing that you want to point out that you may be specifically involved in that is really exciting and enthusiastic for you?
One thing I'm doing a learning community with some of my fellow teachers. I started doing whole brain teaching this year. I just put my toes into it this year, and it's how children get ready to learn, and to ready children to learn, ready their brains to learn. And I spoke with some of my my fellow teachers, and as of Wednesday, we will start our new learning community.
Great. I think I better get Mrs. Reed into our conversation because I think we may talk all day. Ms. Reed, welcome again to the show.
Thank you.
Would you please give our audience, our viewers, a little bit about your background as well?
I have been the principal of Bayshore Elementary for 5 years now, and Mrs. Diaguiar has been there with me the whole time. Prior to that, I was the assistant principal at Okamic and at Northport Middle School and Northport K-8.
Now, for Ms. Diaguiar to be the Teacher of the Year, there's got to be a lot of excitement, a lot of movement, a lot of things happening in her room, as is with all of your fantastic teachers at Bayshore. But when you visit her classroom, what is it that you see?
Mrs. Diaguiar's classroom is really a model classroom for the St. Lucie County framework on teaching and learning, because you walk into her classroom and her students are learning. They're actively engaged in what's going on in the classroom. She utilizes many Kagan strategies, so students are always talking to each other, and it's evident in her classroom because she can pose a question and they'll do a clap, clap, teach, and they turn to each other and they're having conversations, and she's clearly monitoring that. And her students are learning. And she's providing feedback for her students as well. So they may be doing an activity on the carpet and they're going back to their seats, or they're working in teams or partners. And she's going and providing feedback for them on areas, positive feedback, areas that they want to look at their learning goals and what they need to do. So she really is, her classroom is a model classroom for our framework.
She mentioned to us the learning community is an activity that she's involved in, but we both know that she's heavily involved in other things. So what other activities is Ms. Diaguiar involved in at Bayshore?
Ms. Diaguiar is also one of our team leaders, and she's not just the team leader that goes to a meeting and talks about what happened at the faculty council. She's really has a pinnacle role in collaborative planning with her grade group. She's leading the collaborative planning with her second grade team, as well as guiding some of our new team leaders in primary grades on really following kind of a little protocol on collaborative planning, looking at work that students have done, looking at the standards, really unpacking standards. The first day we came back this summer, Mrs. Diaguiar, we had the book, an ELA book on unpacking standards. She's like, this is amazing, this is wonderful. She took it home during the summer, our curriculum guide, and she just really dove into it to unpack standards, and she leads her team with that, as well as other grade levels, not just her second grade team. She talks to the first grade team and the kindergarten team and third grade on what's expected in third grade as well.
Mrs. Reed, describe Mrs. Diaguiar using 3 adjectives.
I only get 3.
Only 3, only 3.
First, I would say she is caring. She cares about all of her students and staff members as well, and families. She is intelligent, and she's a learner. She's a learner. She's continuously wants to be able to do more. The whole brain teaching really stemmed off of what we started this at the beginning of the school year with. We started some school-wide professional development with engaging students with poverty in mind. And the start was about whole brain teaching and getting students ready to learn. So Ms. Diaguiar just jumped right off of that, and that's how she started that, which was wonderful.
Ms. Diaguiar, what impact do you have on your students' college and or career readiness?
Well, we talk about it all the time. I make sure that they are more than ready for third grade. So I make sure that within my standards, I'm doing what they need. And then I'm looking at whether the student is higher or lower and what they're missing. And I'm making sure that I get those missing skills that they've missed, and making sure that then when they progress, that they've got what they need.
So what extra advice do you give to students and our parents to help ensure that they are a success?
Sit with your child and listen and read with them every night. I know parents around here, and all parents are really, really busy, and I think they sometimes forget, but sitting and reading with your child means the most.
Let me ask you this then, because I truly believe also that those who read succeed. Why are you a teacher? You told me that you were a career changer, although you've always known it. But what compelled you? So why? Why
am I a teacher? I can't see myself doing anything else. I love being able to make a difference with my children. When they come into my classroom, I know that they're really lucky to be there, because I know that I care, and I know that there's not enough time in the day for me to get everything I want to get done, but I'm going to go a mile to make sure that they have what they need.
So when will you know that you are a success?
I'll know I'm an success when my students that struggle with the sight words, they master my sight words. When my students, when they understand what they're reading, when they understand their place value, and when they know, and when I hear from parents that my child didn't want to miss school because they're afraid they're going to miss something, I know that they want to be at school and that they want to learn. And then that's when I know I'm a success.
Mrs. Reed, we know that Ms. Diaguiar just is a representative of all of the fantastic teachers at Bayshore and is an example of the premier teachers that we have in St. Lucie County. But we also know that we will have to choose just one person, a very tough task for the committee, that will represent St. Lucie County as the Teacher of the Year. What makes her the perfect candidate for this honor?
I really think that she would be the perfect candidate because of her leadership qualities as well. She really is able to lead staff members in doing what's right for kids, with jumping off and starting a PLC, and prior to that really working with families as well. Being a front runner in, okay, what else can we do for parental involvement? We sat at a table and Mrs. Diaguiar was right there. What are we going to do so our parents know what's coming up in the next quarter? What can we provide for our families as well? And she's a leader in that, and our teachers really look to her for those kinds of things. And I think that's the quality of St. Lucie County Teacher of the Year.
Ms. Diaguiar, I'm going to ask this question, but I just want it to be a general question. And if it fades into your work as an educator, okay, but just in general, okay? And my question is, what do you know for sure?
What do I know for sure? I know I'm going to come and I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to be the best teacher I can be. I have that self-motivation, and I'm going to make sure my students succeed. That's what I know for sure.
Student success is very, very important, and I think that's the real reason why we all do what we do. Mrs. Reed, is there anything else that you want to add about Ms. Diaguiar?
She is wonderful. She really is. She's very flexible, and she really works well with her parents as well. She's parent conferences and providing positive feedback and suggestions for families in working with their students. And she really is very positive with all of her students.
My final question for you. Finish the phrase, I believe.
I believe all students can succeed in what they want to do with their lives.
And we want to thank you for the work that you do each and every day here in St. Lucie County, and specifically at Bayshore Elementary. And leave with you this quote that says, teachers leave footprints on the souls of the children that they teach. And it's apparent from my conversation with you that touching their lives and making sure that their success, that you're leaving footprints in their lives and on their souls. So thank you so much, and congratulations again for being the Teacher of the Year for Bayshore Elementary School.
Thank you.
Hey, Hard, what's this?
That's my resignation letter.
You're resigning.
Why? Because you're constantly ignoring me. You're half as active as you used to be, and you eat stuff like this. You've been putting me under a lot of pressure lately. That's why I'm ready to quit.
I forgot. I'll do better. Please, don't quit on me.
Okay, but remember, it's not what you say, it's what you do.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you.
Let's go for a walk.
Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
And at this time, we want to welcome from Chester A. Moore Elementary School, Ms. Joy Gardner, our Teacher of the Year for Chester A. Moore. Welcome to our show.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And she has along with her the wonderful, fantastic, awesome principal, Mrs. Pam Holmes. Mrs. Holmes, we welcome you as well.
Thank you, Dr. Perry, and it's an honor to be here.
Thank you. Ms. Gardner. Now, this is the Teacher of the Year celebration show, and we're celebrating all the fantastic work that our Teachers of the Year candidates do, because we know they represent the entire teaching field for St. Lucie County. But we want our viewers to get to know you a little better, so would you please introduce yourself and share with them your background, what grades you teach, what subjects you teach?
Yes, I'm a second grade teacher at C.A. Moore Elementary School. I attended Florida A&M University.
Oh, that's bad, right? Okay, it's okay. It's okay.
Where I majored in political science and a minor in pre-law. My certification is in elementary education, K through 6.
Okay. And how long have you been working with us?
I've been in St. Lucie County School Board System for 3 years.
Okay. And tell us about the subjects that you teach.
I teach second grade, and second grade entails a great deal. In second grade, we're focused on developing fluent and proficient readers. Students are introduced to reading skills such as identifying the main idea, comparing and contrasting, identifying the author's purpose. Mathematically, we focus on place value, addition and subtraction, word problems, and trying to show our students everyday use for math.
Here we go. You told us about the content. What's the favorite part of teaching for you?
I would have to say that my favorite part would have to be the students. Just to see the excitement in their eyes when they're learning something new, or to see them when they achieve the goal that they've set for themselves. Just getting to know their unique and different personalities is a true delight. So not only are my students the most important part, they're absolutely my favorite part.
We know that our students come into the world with some kind of device in their hands. So because that's such a natural part of who they are, the technology, how do you naturally infuse technology in your planning, preparation, and delivery of instruction?
I infuse technology into my classroom in a variety of ways. First, I like to utilize digital lessons that are on Think Central for reading, math, and science. Not only that, I like to utilize PowerPoint presentations, educational videos. Also within my classroom, I utilize iReady for math and reading daily.
What's Think Central and iReady, just in case our viewers don't know?
Think Central is a place where they have come together and put all of our resources for reading, such as our Journeys textbook, our Science Fusion textbook, so we're able to pull them up and show them digitally and actually go through lessons with our children. And iReady is a program that hits our kids on their level. So it spirals back and it pushes them forward from where they are.
What advice would you give to a brand new teacher?
The advice that I would give to a new teacher is to build relationships, because building relationships with students, families, and fellow colleagues, it creates an environment that is conducive to success.
Have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher? And if not, when did you decide?
Actually, I haven't always known that I've wanted to become a teacher. It was through personal tragedy, the loss of my father, who was killed in a car accident, that I discovered my true calling. That incident caused me to reevaluate my life's direction. And I realized that I wanted a job that offered meaning, a job that allowed me to give up my talents and my skills to my community. And I decided that teaching was the best avenue to do that because it allowed me to reach so many.
Okay. Awesome when we can reflect and then come back to, in essence, inspire the next generation that comes behind us. So as you think about your reflection, can you think of a teacher that might have been the spark or the inspiration for you to?
One teacher that I would probably say was a spark for me probably was my 8th grade history teacher, Mr. Jessens, at LPA. He had so many stories and he just captured me. And just to look back and see how he sparked something in me, I wanted to do the same to other students.
So I assume his classroom was very enthusiastic and engaging.
Absolutely.
So how do you do that same thing for your students?
The way that I try to engage my students is first by collaborating. When I collaborate with other teachers, it allows me to create rigorous and engaging assignments. Not only that, I like to infuse technology into my classroom because a lot of our kids aren't exposed to a lot of things, so we have to bring that world to them. And I do that through technology. I also like to utilize hands-on activities so we can address those kinesthetic learners. And I also like to have opportunities for my kids to have accountable talk and to also work with their peers.
I know DQ5 in our instructional delivery program is all about engagement. So when we purposefully plan to engage students, we can better help students be prepared for content mastery. As Teacher of the Year, I know you don't just sit in your 2nd grade classroom and deliver instruction. So what are some of the things that you may be involved in or something that's really exciting to you that you're involved in this year at Chester A. Moore?
This year, I had the opportunity to be a part of the PBIS committee. And the PBIS committee has been very insightful. It has given me a chance to dive into the data and to come up with plans to help promote positive behavior across campus.
Mrs. Holmes, we want to welcome you to our show as well. And for our viewing audience, would you please also tell them a little bit about your background? Or do you want me to tell them? No.
Okay, Dr. Perry, you can go ahead and share with them, and then I'll piggyback on you.
No, go ahead, Mrs. Holmes.
Actually, I began my career substituting for a general paraprofessional at Fairlawn Elementary, where one of our sons was a student the first year. It was a magnet school. I transferred to Port St. Lucie Elementary as a temporary clerk while I was working on my certification. I did my student teaching when I finished school at Fort Pierce Elementary, where I was a student, grades 1 through 6. I began teaching my teaching career at Francis K. Sweet Elementary Magnet School, of which you were my assistant principal. So I learned great things from you, Dr. Perry. And I also remember the days when you came from high school and you loved our little ones.
I love those darlings.
You got attached very quickly. From there, I went to Fort Pierce Magnet School of the Arts 1 year as an assistant principal.
Right.
And from there, I went as an assistant principal to Chester A. Moore Elementary, became principal a year ago, and I've just been assigned to Fairlawn Elementary Magnet School beginning today.
Oh.
So I'm thrilled to be a part of the St. Lucie Public School system.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Now, as a principal, we know that you're constantly visiting Mrs. Gardner's classroom. So what is it that you see when you enter in her class, and what do you hear?
When I enter Miss Gardner's classroom, I see her not only as a teacher, I see her as a coach, I see her as a mentor, I see her as a parent, because from bell to bell, she is all that to her students. She ignites learning. When the students are doing, for example, accountable talk, she will get down on their level and speak with them and get into their conversations. When they go to the whiteboard, she's not satisfied with just a simple answer. She coaches them, she probes them to give more, and they want to do that for her. You can tell that she's built relationships with her students by the way they respond with her. She respects them and they respect her.
We talked about Mrs. Gardner using data to be more involved with the positive behavior structures on the campus at Chester A. Moore. But I know that as a teacher of the year and as involved and after her reflection, that she's involved in other kinds of activities that just help the total operation of the school. Can you enlighten us to some of those kinds of opportunities, those activities that she may be involved with?
Ms. Gardner, in her own quiet way, will do anything she is asked to do. She will accept students if a student is struggling to mentor them. She's involved in 21st Century. She's involved in various other committees. And she has really been a strong supporter of PBIS because she believes in giving hope to all students.
Ms. Gardner, in your involvement with 21st Century, what is it that you do with the 21st Century?
In 21st Century, we have project-based activities to where we can give kids hands-on activities to where they can utilize those skills in the real world.
Okay, what advice would you give to parents or to students to help ensure that that child is a success?
The advice that I always give to my students is to try their best in all facets of the day, because when they're trying their best, positive things will happen. The advice that I always give to parents is that this is a team effort. We have to work together in order to ensure their child's success.
What impact do you think that you have on a student's college and or career readiness, even though it's in second grade?
I believe I have a lot to do with their college and career readiness, because at this stage we're building those foundational skills that they're going to utilize throughout their educational career. And I also believe that it's my job to ignite that spark that drives them to want to reach for the stars, to reach that higher plateau of education. And it starts right now in second grade.
So, Ms. Gardner, when you think about all of that you've already shared with me, about your reflection, about how you became a teacher, about your involvement in using data and the positive behavior structures on the campus, when you just think and reflect totally, why are you a teacher?
I'm a teacher because I want to make a difference. I want to positively impact the children in my community. And I know that teaching is the best avenue to do that, by educating them.
Yeah, and an educated society, an educated community, we just improve life for everyone. Mrs. Holmes, you've had an awesome time of working with Mrs. Gardner. So describe her using 3 adjectives.
Dr. Perry, it's difficult to limit it to 3, but Ms. Gardner is compassionate, she's supportive, she's loyal, and the list could go on and on. But she is all of those because teaching is in her heart.
So we know that she is a representative of the wonderful teachers at Chester A. Moore, a reflection of all the fine teachers that we have in St. Lucie County. But we will choose one person from that entire field to be the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie County, a wonderful honor. What makes her the perfect candidate for that honor?
Ms. Gardner is truly an ambassador for learning. She's an ambassador for her students. She's an ambassador for education. She's also an ambassador for our community. She has it all. Even though she only has her students bell to bell, it extends beyond that. And she carries her message to home, to school, and beyond. She is positive about the community. She is positive about all her students. Even though her students come from various backgrounds, you would never know that in her classroom. She expects the same from all students, and she has high expectations for all of them, both inside the classroom and outside the classroom.
Yeah, that extended learning is very important because we have them for a confined amount of time in a confined space, but we know that they go out into the world, and we're hoping that what we're doing is going to help make that world a better place and make them better prepared to do whatever it is that they choose to. And with that, Ms. Gardner, when you think about you and the work that you do with students inside the classroom, outside the classroom, working with PBS, working with 21st Century, when will you know that you are a success?
That answer is simple. When my children are a success. When my students are a success, that means I'm a success. My success is dictated by their achievement.
Okay. Student achievement, that's exactly why we do what we do, what we want for all of them. Mrs. Holmes, is there anything else that you want to add and share with us about this fantastic Miss Gardner?
I just would like to reiterate again about the relationships and the respect. Ms. Gardner's students and the students of C.A. Moore Elementary know that she believes in them and they want to perform for her. So she truly believes that all students can be successful, no exceptions, as the Kids at Hope philosophy says.
Mrs. Gardner, here's an open-ended question for you. It can be general or it can be specific to education and your work. But the question is, what do you know for sure?
I know for sure that it doesn't matter where you start. It doesn't determine your finish. So it doesn't matter where our students come from, where they're starting now. It doesn't dictate where they're going to end. And I truly believe that's what I know.
Finish this phrase for me then, and this will be my final question. I believe
that all children are capable of achieving. No matter their socioeconomic status, no matter where they live, they're capable of success. They're capable of reaching for the stars. And I believe that with all my heart, that each student who steps foot in my classroom will achieve.
Ms. Gardner, it's been a pleasure talking with you, and we want to congratulate you again on being the Teacher of the Year for Chester A. Moore, and great work, and want to, again, let you know how much we appreciate you, and leave you with this. Teachers inspire dreams, shape lives, and give hope for the future. And it's very evident through my conversation with you that you're giving hope and shaping those lives of all those wonderful, fantastic second graders in your classroom at Chester A. Moore. Ms. Gardner, Mrs. Holmes, thank you for joining us here as we celebrate the fantastic work that you're doing each and every day in the lives of students at Chester A. Moore Elementary School.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Perry, and thank you, Ms. Gardner, for all that you do for all students.
I appreciate that, Ms. Holmes. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're doing great. We're gonna try this again, okay?
Okay.
Wheels, pedals, handlebar, brakes. Sit up straight, keep your weight in the center, keep your eyes on the road, hands on the grips, button the seat. If we feel ourselves falling, what do?
Just keep
pedaling. Good girl. Now remember, it's all about balance and steering. Steer with your hands, steer with your body. Steer into the corners and you stay out of trouble. And the bell's your buddy, so go ahead and ding that. All right, you ready? Here we go. Pedal, honey, pedal. There you go, you're a bike rider.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
And we want to welcome to our special show celebrating the work of our Teachers of the Year, Mr. Jeffrey Johnson, who is the fantastic Teacher of the Year at Dale Casson Education Center. Welcome to our show.
Thank you, Dr. Perry.
And he has along with him the wonderful principal at Dale Casson, Miss Ellen Harden. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you so much. We're so glad to be here today.
It is a pleasure to have you both with us as we celebrate the fantastic work that the Teachers of the Years are doing here as they represent all the fantastic educators in St. Lucie Public Schools. But Mr. Johnson, we just want to share and learn a little bit more about you and share that information with our viewing audience. So if you would, briefly introduce yourselves to our viewers and tell us the grade and the subjects that you teach.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, my name is Jeff Johnson. I am a husband of Julia Johnson. We've been married for 36 years. We have 3 children. I'm a retired Navy veteran, submarine veteran. I spent a number of years traveling the world, learning about people, life, and I enjoy working with people. I'm also an ordained cleric. So I am pretty well ingrained in the community as well as the school structure.
And the subjects that you teach at Dale Casson?
I teach from grade 6 through 9.
Okay.
Math, science, English language arts, as well as social science.
Now, you've traveled the world, so that means you bring a wealth of knowledge and experience about the world to our students. But what school did you attend and what was your program of study?
I initially began my study with business and psychology at Columbia. Then I got an undergraduate degree from there and moved to Florida, FAU, and got a degree in education, specializing in the special education, varying exceptionalities. And my current program of study that I'm just wrapping up is from Walden University, Curriculum Instruction and Assessment.
Okay, you told us you teach math,
yes,
science, yes, English language arts, and you teach grades 6 through 9.
Yes.
Briefly tell us how you manage all of that, what all of that entails.
Well, dynamically, what I do now, I serve at the pleasure of my principal. So when I am...
And she's a great principal,
absolutely,
too. Yes, sir.
Absolutely, absolutely. Currently what I'm doing now is course recovery.
Okay.
Not only course recovery, but a program-based, what do we call that?
It's Edgenuity.
Edgenuity for students who have curriculum from 6th grade through the 8th grade who are not prepared to enter high school because they owe content. And what we have endeavored to do is look at the curriculum that they owe and provide a map of mastery from the 6th grade through the 9th grade content so that when they pass the latter course, it's inclusive. It's quite comprehensive, and so it does encompass all the domains except for I don't teach reading directly, but reading is a process, as you know about it.
So what happens with recovery, you are basically allowing students to catch up and to make up.
And I do have some students who have completed all of their course of instruction, and because they are have done so well, they're in a process of not only catching up, but moving forward in the curriculum, so that when they finish this year, hopefully I'll have a couple of 10th graders.
I think it's awesome that when students come to us with some deficits, for whatever the reason may be, that we have those kinds of opportunities where there's some kind of recovery method that helps them catch up basically with their class and make up whatever it is that work. But that's the mark of a great teacher, which is why we have teachers of the year. You have traveled the world. I'm going to keep using that because I think world experiences bring so much to daily instruction for students when you can just help them see what else is there. But because of that knowledge that you bring to your planning and preparation, what is your favorite part about teaching?
My favorite part about teaching is seeing that glimmer in their eye of, I got it. I understand it now, as opposed to, I'll never get this is too hard. That transition from that to, this wasn't as hard as I thought it was. That is the greatest reward for me.
I know we often talk about that aha, when the light bulb comes on for students, but when you're dealing with students that have deficits, that owe curriculum, and they're trying to make up, and they come with lacking the motivation, sometimes the self-esteem, and you begin to see them transition in their thinking, it has to be a wonderful thing.
It is, it is.
Students come to you, the students that you're working with each and every day, and they have been used to having something in their hand probably since the day they were born. Some kind of technology of something, be it for educational purposes, be it for fun, be it for communications, whatever the case may be. Just helping them, again, touch the world that you are part of. So how do you infuse the use of technology in instruction?
Very good question. One of the things that I do is one of the students already come to us savvy, tech savvy.
Right.
And we find out from them what are their favorite games, what do they like to do, how do they like to learn. We do multiple intelligence questionnaires and find out exactly where they are. And we research to see what tools are available, what vehicles are available to them to get them from where they are to where they need to be based on using technology as a tool. Things like, for example, the other day before the Christmas break, or before the holiday break, I had a student that really couldn't understand a content process with algebraic equations, and he said, "Mr. Johnson, I want to use these QR things on my phone." And I said, "Well, you know, we generally don't allow phones on our campus, but I showed him on my phone how to use a QR icon to get added instruction, and that excited him. And the other students came over and said, "Oh, I didn't know I could do that." And I showed them also how to do that on their game systems. So, and then I also sent home some information to their parents that tells them this is how they can access information while they're on their
Holiday
break, so that they're not rusty when they come back. And just simple things like that.
That's great when we can take those things that are a natural part of their daily life and they get excited about it, because what just happened is right before the break, he's got to use his technology and can take that to whatever he's doing while he was away from us for 2 weeks. And I bet you he did. Yeah, I bet you he did.
And if I could add to that,
sure.
One of the things that's wonderful about that is that once they log in, I have this, Nick Zorelic showed us how to do this. Once they log in and access that information, I can see when they did it. And so I can tell you that I have had a couple of students that I never thought would have taken time over the summer break, over the Christmas break, or holiday break, to access that information that have done so.
That's great. We love it when our students continue to learn, even when we're not there, because I think one of the things of a master teacher, of a teacher of the year, is to help ensure that after they leave the confines of our four walls, they still are in the process of discovery and learning. I know you told us about traveling the world on submarines, no doubt, underwater, but have you always known that you wanted to teach? And if not, when did you decide?
There is a quote from a movie, I think Morgan Freeman says it. He says that you do what you are. And if you don't, you're born into it. And if you're not, then along the way things come into your life that help focus what you do. From a child, when I would go to school, I would bring home, I'm the oldest of 6, I would bring home the things that I learned. I would reteach it to my siblings. And I will tell you that all of my siblings, except for one, have graduate degrees. And when they were ready to go to school, they were in love with learning, because I brought that home with me. And because when you're the oldest kid, everybody wants to go to school. And that's, I'm going to go to school too. And so by the time they got ready to go to school, they were already in love with learning. And I think that's what the gift that I have is that I endeavor to help my students love learning. And that's been a part of who I am ever since I can remember.
Because you had that love for learning and you always brought that love of learning home, think back, and it could be primary school, it could be high school, it could be even be graduate school. Is there some teacher along the way that really inspired you to be the great educator that you are?
I have an amalgamation of a number of teachers, and I can name them. My 4th grade teacher, Mrs. Katz, I had struggled with long division, and she would stay after school with me and help me until I mastered long division. Mr. Suskin in 6th grade gave me a love of science. Mrs. Bowen in the 10th grade, who gave me a love of algebra and trig. And I bring what they've mentored in me, and I mix that together, and I hopefully will bring forward another generation of teachers who love teaching and sharing knowledge as I do.
So what advice would you give to a new teacher?
Count up the cost. Be sure this is what you want to do. It's not a vocation, it's a life calling. The journey from student to teacher never ends. And don't be afraid to allow your students to teach you how to teach them. Learn from learned teachers. Get a mentor. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Never. One of the things that I learned when I first came to K-12 teaching was that some of my colleagues were afraid to ask some of the senior teachers how to, when to. And I think that's a dangerous thing, because you're left alone and others don't know what you don't know until you expose yourself. And that's one of the things I would think is most important. Don't be afraid to share yourself so that you can acquiesce from unlearn to learn. There's a path already carved, and you stay on that path until you can figure out where you are where you're going. Mimic great teachers until you find your own way. That's what I would encourage them to do. The path from learner to teacher never ends. It's a pedagogical process that's lifelong.
I better get Ms. Harden in on this conversation. Ms. Harden, just in case there's somebody viewing that don't know you, please give us a little bit about your educational background.
All right. I am a product of St. Lucie County Schools. I was born in Fort Pierce, Florida. I went to all of my elementary years here, and then my parents moved away, and so I was experiencing North Carolina for a while. I went to Western Carolina University for my undergraduate work, and I went to Nova for my graduate work, taking classes along the way in reading and then teaching methodologies. I have been in St. Lucie County Schools as a teacher at Westwood High School.
What's a Panther?
Always a Panther. Always a Panther, and I dearly love my community. I serve my community now in alternative education and have done so for a very long time. I've been in education for 28 years in North Carolina, Virginia, and in Florida. And I dearly love, absolutely love my community, and I love serving my community. We have the absolute best kept secret in alternative education in St. Lucie County of anywhere that I've ever lived or been. There's more support and more family atmosphere here. And I am so proud of all of the years. And with Mr. Johnson, I have found an absolute gem. He is a high quality educator and leader and mentor.
So when you visit his classroom, as we all do as administrators, what is it that you hear and see in his room?
It is amazing to me when I walk in because it oozes respect. The kids are so respectful to each other and to Mr. Johnson, and he models that with students. So the very first thing is it's a non-chaotic room. It is a working room. The students are working at their pace. He is working individually, often one-on-one with a child, and encouraging them, showing them what they have done, or encouraging them to do more. He knows exactly where every child in his room is currently working, what they have accomplished. He celebrates those accomplishments with each child. And remember, he's teaching all core, English, math, science, and social studies, grades 6 through 12 to children that are over age for grade. And he eagerly impresses on them the need for them to learn the content, not just do the content.
So describe him using 3 adjectives.
Thoughtful. Respectful. Deep learner. I know I cheated, but a true learner.
Learner. Oh, yeah. That's okay. Okay. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, sir.
What impact do you have on a student's college or career readiness?
Well, first of all, one of the things that I want to bridge with them is that their past and their current life and the life that some of them have is not ingrained, it's not forged forever, and that education is a process by which they can reach heights that they never thought they could. So we don't have an expectation of finishing high school. We have an expectation of them pursuing PhDs. We know that all students won't pursue a PhD, but we want them to know that they can. We encourage them along those lines. And often a student will tell me, I don't get this, I don't understand this. In the military, we have this concept where we never leave a man behind, or woman, or fellow soldier behind. And often what I have to explain to them is that we have to go back and get what you missed. And some students have an aversion to that. I say it's baby work. But once we give them the concept that we got to rescue this concept, and once we rescue this concept and they see that they can do that, then they have an eye for the future. And I try to facilitate that they can go beyond high school. High school is a license to learn. It's not the end. It's not the transition to the job market. It's just the license to learn.
Can I use that, rescue the concept?
Sure.
I'm going to borrow that. So I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about your background, and I'm hearing everything. Why are you a teacher?
I was born to be a teacher. I'm happy, most happiest, most comfortable when I'm in the area of the lectern. I love the classroom. I love teaching. I love learning. If I were to, I don't play the lottery, but if I were to win the lottery, if I were to gain a substantial amount of money, I would still teach. If I wasn't teaching, I would still be in an institution of learning, because this is who I am. And I can't be anything but what I am.
Ms. Harden, what makes Mr. Johnson the perfect candidate for this Teacher of the Year honor?
He sees the entire picture. He sees it from what curriculum a child needs to know and be able to do. He understands how to get them from the very bare basics all the way through learning a standard, through learning the concepts. He takes his knowledge and his love of learning beyond the classroom to the parents. He talks to the parents often about where their children are and what they can do to help and support. He mentors his peers in the education in our world. He is a leader. He mentors new teachers. He works with teachers that are struggling, teachers that just want to ask his opinion about something. So the entire picture of what you see for a Teacher of the Year is you bring the entire package with you, and he does. He works through the entire spectrum of education, and he does it beautifully.
Mr. Johnson, when will you know that you are a success?
I think that that's a walk that you walk. Satchel Paige was asked one time, how was he able to compete with people younger than him? And his response was, it's a matter of mind over matter. If my mindset is successful and I live that, I talk that, I walk that, and accept nothing less than that, then I am actualized in the area of success all the time. And how I directly understand that is if my students from strand to assessment acquire knowledge and are able to give me feedback that they've learned, then I know that I'm successful. And if I'm successful, they're successful, and that's a tandem product.
Let me ask one more question. And I know we're talking about education and this Teacher of the Year process and all that you bring to it. And when you look at all of that in totality, and it could be a general or it could be specific to education, what do you know for sure?
I know that that we all have a purpose. Every life has a purpose. And there are no, you might have been born into meager circumstances, but greatness is still yours. And every child, every person has an exclusive purpose that is theirs. And it is my job and your job and all stakeholders' occupation to help facilitate that so that every life knows their purpose. I know that every life has a purpose. There is no, well, I'm just here. No. You have something you have to do, something you have to give.
Mr. Johnson, again, I want to congratulate you on being selected the Teacher of the Year for Dale Casson.
Thank you, sir.
And for representing all the fantastic teachers that we have here in St. Lucie Public Schools. And I want to leave you with some words of Bob Harris when he said, "It's not that we make a difference, it's that we make the difference." And I thank you and congratulate you for making the difference for students here in St. Lucie Public Schools. And again, congratulations on your selection as Teacher of the Year for Dale Casson.
Thank you, Dr. Berry.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore, and frustration a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy and giving up impossible. I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought and unconventional methods common. I'm a teacher. I make more.
And we're welcoming to the Teacher of the Year celebration show, Ms. Nicole Epstein, and congratulations for being selected Teacher of the Year for Longwood Elementary School.
Well, thank you so much.
And she has joining her fantastic principal, Mr. John Jackson Harris. Welcome to our show as well.
Thank you.
Again, we want to congratulate you on being selected the Teacher of the Year, and we want our viewing audience to get to know you a little better. So if you would please tell us what grade you teach and the subjects that you teach.
I am a kindergarten teacher, so that entails basically everything from behavior to all academics. I do math, reading, science, social studies. So I'm basically their introduction to school all around.
So I have to ask this question because you are a kindergarten teacher. Everything that we ever needed to know, did we really learn it in kindergarten?
Well, I like to say that you learn the basics of life in kindergarten. You learn to take turns. You learn that the world doesn't revolve around you. You learned, I know it's a hard thing, but you also learn to share. You learn to help others. And honestly, most importantly, you learn that it's okay to fail. You learn that you make a mistake, it's okay, move on. And if you get those basics in kindergarten, then hopefully you're set. You're just building on from the forever.
So I really did learn everything that great. Kindergarten, it actually sets the foundation for everything else that comes, whether it be academic, social, whatever the case may be. So what college did you attend and what was your program of study and what certifications do you carry?
I attended the University of Central Florida. My degree was elementary education. I have my reading endorsement and my ESOL, ELL endorsement through there. And I have my minor in Judaic Studies from UCF as well.
So you're teaching kindergarten. They come with a love for learning. They're very excited. They're very open pictures and you can just pour into them. What is your favorite part of teaching?
My favorite part of teaching is the relationship I get to have with each student. Every student is different, and even though they're 5, they have so much to share with me, teach me about the world, and I just love getting to know each and every one of them, helping them see who they are as a person and reach their potential.
Okay, you're teaching 5-year-olds, but they probably came into the world with some kind of technology at their fingertips. So because technology is a natural part of who these kindergartners are, how do you use technology to help instruct them on a daily basis?
Oh, you're right. They love technology. And we actually have a classroom set of computers in our classroom. I use that daily. My students have independent time on the computers for reading and for math. We actually have been using, the St. Lucie County adopted the program iReady. So we have been using that program a lot daily for reading and math. I love it because I can get data on my students and it differentiates the instruction. So each of my students are having fun playing games, but it's on their own level. Another way I integrate technology in my classroom is I actually got donated an iPad, and I have my own personal iPad, so my class has 2. And I have bought and researched, and I have some amazing games that are directly aligned with the Common Core standards. So again, that is one way that I can assign each student their individual games to play. Say, okay, you need extra work on these sight words. So for reading time, I'm gonna put you on the iPad to work on these sight words. And so they have fun doing it. I can monitor and see how well they were doing in the games by looking at the iPad afterwards. And I have a bunch of different games for reading and math.
So learning is really fun.
I hope so. I think so.
In your classroom, it is.
Yes.
Ms. Epstein, have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher? And if not, when did you decide?
It's funny because I feel like I have always known. I have a younger sister who I shared a room with, and she has some vivid memories of me forcing her to play school with her my whole childhood. My mom would laugh because I would take plastic bags, Ziploc bags, and I would open them and thumbtack them to my wall, and that was our dry erase board. And I would do fact families and make my little sister sit and do the math problems. And so from a young age, the idea of teaching was always exciting for me. As I got older, some people started noticing that I had a gift in teaching. I actually went to Hebrew school growing up, and I was asked to come back after I graduated to tutor some students. They said, I really like how you teach. I like how you read the words and how you break it apart. Can you come back? And I was in 8th grade, and I was asked to start teaching one-on-one tutoring with some students. And it was kind of, for me as a young child, a way for me to, it was something I excelled in. I enjoyed it. I was good at it. And I got praised for it. And I could see the reward when the student went from not knowing how to read to being able to read. So, read Hebrew. And so it kind of was an idea when I was young, and it became real as I got older, and I've kind of grown from there.
Do you think there was someone that inspired you to become a teacher, and if so, who?
Well, so many teachers growing up. But whenever I think of who I want to be as a teacher, one person does stand out. And that was my band instructor in middle school. And I had him all 3 years. I know, I teach kindergarten. And
band directors rock.
Oh, yeah, you're okay.
I'm just sorry.
And he stands out in my mind because he had so many students, yet he knew every single student's name. He knew our interests. And if I was having a bad day, he could see it on my face and would pull me aside and not only made me feel better, but made me feel worthy of being a human being of his time. And he would joke with us and laugh and play. And when I think of what kind of teacher I want to be, he is who I envision. I want each of my kids to feel that they are loved, that they are special, and they can come to me for anything.
There's something about those band directors.
I know.
You know, if I must say so myself. Okay. Now, kindergarten, a lot of playtime, a lot of learning time, a lot of hands-on. We talk about students being naturally engaged in learning, so much so that a part of our instructional framework talks about engagement. DQ5 is where we notate it and where we talk about it. So how do you naturally infuse and or plan for engagement in your lessons?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because that's actually one of my favorite parts of how I run my classroom. I was introduced to a concept called whole brain teaching. And basically whole brain teaching takes the idea of both sides, both hemispheres of your brain, the creative side and the academic side, putting them together. So my whole classroom is research-based whole brain teaching. So everything uses all of the learning styles. For example, if we are learning about 2D shapes, I go, okay, class, and they go, yes. So then they're auditory and they're engaged right away. Mirror with words, and they mirror me. And so 2D shapes are flat. They do 2D shapes are flat. So now they are using kinesthetic learning of doing the movement, they are saying it, and then whole brain teaching even takes it a step further of, okay, now that you know what a 2D shape is, teach your partner. Okay, and 2D shapes are flat. So now they are not only learning, but they are teaching the concept. And then I have them switch and they do it back and forth. So that's all my lessons are based on whole brain teaching, and everything is engaged from the beginning. So I really do a lot through that.
Is this something new or exciting that you're working on this year?
Yes, actually. I was chosen to be a teacher leader for my school. Well, I'm the kindergarten team leader this year. And then I was chosen to be part of the St. Lucie County's leadership cohort, which meets once a month. And I have really been enjoying that, learning a lot. We really dive into the elements in St. Lucie County's framework. And I love being there in the atmosphere with all of the other teachers, teacher leaders from other schools, listening to them, hearing them, picking their brain. Oh, you're a kindergarten teacher too? Okay, how did you do this? Or my favorite, talking to a high school teacher and realizing, oh wow, that's actually a good way of going about that element. I never thought I could do that in kindergarten, but maybe I could. So I've really, truly enjoyed being part of that cohort this year.
Okay, Ms. Epstein, I think we better get your fantastic principal in on this conversation. So again, we welcome Ms. Jackson Harris to the Teacher of the Year celebration. And just in case somebody does not know who you are that's viewing our wonderful show, would you please introduce yourself to them?
Hi, I'm a proud product of St. Lucie County. Actually attended Port St. Lucie Elementary before it is not in existence anymore, and matriculated through our school system. Then graduated, started at UCF, but then went to USF and graduated with a degree in elementary education. Really connected in the community, and that's one of the things that I see that speaks volumes about Ms. Epstein, because she too is connected in the community, not only the community at large, but the school community. And it is wonderful to work with great educators and to continue to give back to the community.
When you visit Mrs. Epstein's class, what is it that you see and hear?
I see and hear engagement. I see and hear a love of learning. When Ms. Epstein talked about students mirroring the concept that is taught and really being excited about teaching others, that is permeating every corner of that classroom. It is so enjoyable to be in there. There are times that you have to turn off the walkie-talkie to escape from the world, and when you escape from the world, you can see me sitting in the rug or on the rug, engaged with the students, because she makes learning enjoyable. It's not a chore. It's not even seeming like there are concepts that are being taught, because kids are motivated and excited to continue to persist beyond difficulties to learn those concepts. Sight word game parties, math magicians that happen, all of those things happen in Miss Epstein's classroom. And on top of that, she has a magical gecko that really gets kids involved and engaged, and the elf on the shelf. So it's just like a transformational classroom that Miss Epstein definitely creates.
So, Ms. Epstein talked about being a teacher leader, being a part of the teacher leader cohort for the district. What other activities is she involved in? Because it sounds like she's heavily involved.
Very heavily involved. Ms. Epstein became a member of our PTO board, and we have a need to make sure that our school is beautified. And one of the things that she influenced, her connections, husband, was making sure that our mural in our multipurpose room was created. She contacted a high school to make sure that volunteer high school, National Junior Art Honor Society members came in and created a space and a place where we wanted to be. It was magical. And that's just one of the things that she's involved with. PTO, being a part of the school community at large, being thirsty to teach others what she is learning, and being a mentor for others.
Speaking of mentors, Mrs. Epstein, what advice would you give to a new teacher?
Always learn. Never, always ask. Always be willing to learn more. And when someone gives you a critique, don't take it as a criticism. Take it as, oh, wow, okay, I can learn from this. Because everything, like, I'm a lifetime learner, and I feel everybody is, but especially teachers. And when you first come out of college, it's a little overwhelming, and you're a beginning teacher, and maybe you're trying your best and you're overwhelmed, and somebody, rates you, and, you're a beginning in an element. Well, don't let that hurt you. Say, okay, awesome, this is what I need to work on, and strive and ask other people and your principal and your mentors and your leaders at your school, what can I do to better this? So always learn, always take critiques and learn from them.
Always have opportunities for growth.
Exactly.
So, as a kindergarten teacher, you're really affecting the foundation for students. So what impact do you see that you have on a student's career and our college readiness?
You wouldn't think that a kindergarten teacher all the way at the bottom, at the beginning, early years, would impact college and high school, but I actually feel that I'm one of the most important. I feel that my foundation on many levels prepares my students. The academics, yes. My kids come in not knowing their letters. They leave reading. That foundation, academics, with their math and their numbers and their sight words, if they don't have that, then in the future years, they're going to be behind. You need that good, solid foundation. But I also feel that I prepare them mentally. Everyone in my class, we know that we do good. We give ourselves an oh yeah when it's a success. And if we make a mistake, everybody in the class goes, it's okay. And we move on. We learn that as a person, you are always growing. And you're not gonna make it through high school and college and your career without those ups and downs and knowing in yourself how to grow.
Mrs. Jackson-Harris, describe Ms. Epstein, please, using 3 adjectives.
Only 3?
Only 3.
Connected. Connected in a way that in our community, our kids and our families know that she cares. Engaging. Engaging in ways that get kids to the heart of the problem. And technology savvy, to really dig deep into students' understanding of what is facing them, the challenges that they face.
So what makes her the perfect candidate for this honor?
Ms. Epstein was chosen by her colleagues because they know if there's a problem, she will be the first person to ask, because she will give feedback to others without hesitation. Her colleagues chose her because she is a lifelong learner, and she imparts that knowledge not only to her students, to parents, to community members. She is a natural-born teacher, and it was easy to see why her colleagues chose her for this honor.
Ms. Epstein, when will you know that you are a success?
I will know that I am a success when my students are able to look back at me and say that they are a learner, that they will always know, they know that they can succeed. Yes, I'm here to teach them academics, and I look at my data and I know that the growth in data is that's what drives my daily instruction. So that, throughout the year. But when will I know I'm a success is when a student's able to look at me in the eyes and say, Miss Epstein, I know I'm worthy, and I know I can learn, and I know I can reach my potential, which is above the moon and stars. And when they are able to tell me who they are, and I have helped instill that love for themselves, that love for education and learning, that's when I'll know.
So we've been talking a lot about being a kindergarten teacher and about education. But when you look at this question in totality, please, you can do that, or it can be very specific. When you look at you and the work that you do, what is it that you know for sure?
I know that this is what I was meant to be. This is what I was meant to do. I've, just my whole life I've faced, normal obstacles, and I've always overcome them, but there's never been anything in my life that I have felt so sure about. I'm sure that I am placed here for, in St. Lucie County with my students, with my group of kids, to make a difference. And I feel that this is just who I am. I'm a teacher.
So finish the phrase for me. I believe
all students can succeed.
Well, Ms. Epstein, Mrs. Jackson-Harris, thank you for joining us on this Salute to our Teachers of the Year. We want to congratulate you on the work that you're doing and for representing such a fine field of positive, dynamic educators as the Teacher of the Year. And I want to leave you with the words of Krista McAuliffe when she said, I touch the future I teach. So thank you for touching the future at such an early primary age in the kindergarten and preparing them for all the successes that I'm sure that they're going to be able to achieve. Again, congratulations on your selection, and thank you for joining us here on our Teacher of the Year celebration show.
Thank you.
Why is my son having trouble in school?
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
No, I'm tired of fighting with my son over his homework.
Home, walk, restaurant. Need a review?
No. He's smart, but his mind wanders.
7 Wonders of the World.
Why don't you understand me?
I do. I was trying to show how Connor feels every day. Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
And at this time, joining us is Miss Christy Chase, the fantastic Teacher of the Year for Oak Hammock K-8 School. Welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
And she's bringing with her the dynamic Brooke Wigington, who's the dynamic principal at Oak Hammock.
Thank you so much.
It is a pleasure to have both of you joining us as we celebrate the fantastic work that our Teachers of the Years are doing everywhere, and the work that you do in representing such a dynamic, diverse field of fantastic teachers as well. Because this is our salute and celebration show, we want our viewing audience to get to know you. So would you please briefly tell them what grade you're teaching and the subjects that you teach?
I'm currently teaching 6th, 7th, and 8th grade intensive reading.
Intensive reading. Those who read succeed. Very foundational kind of skill. What school did you attend, and what's your program of study and your certification areas?
I'm originally from upstate New York, so all my schooling was done up there. I got my bachelor's at the State University of New York at Cortland.
SUNY?
Yes, SUNY, yep.
Okay.
And then I got my master's degree at Binghamton University, out in Binghamton. And then I'm certified in adolescent social studies education, 7 through 12, and reading 5 through 12.
Wow. This whole idea of teaching reading, tell us what that entails for your students.
Well, my students come to me because they have not been successful in reading. They're reading below grade level, a couple grades below grade level. And my job, my goal is to help get them up to grade level and to increase their fluency and comprehension.
So what's your favorite part of teaching?
Seeing them finally get confident and successful. I use the Read 180 program in my classroom, and I'm very fortunate to have the complete program. And we use it every day. They have whole group instruction with me, where we're learning a skill or a strategy to help them do better with reading. And then we break off into groups, and they'll work with me in small group to continue to develop those skills. They do their own independent reading, and they get to choose the books that they would like to read. And then at the computer, there's a Read 180 software that helps them build their fluency and comprehension, as well as they're also using the iReady at that time.
Because these students that you're teaching come with technology in their hand from the days they're born, and because the Read 180 program has some computer bases to it, what other ways are you using technology for instruction?
I'm using iReady as well. They do 3 days on Read 180 and then 2 days on the iReady, so it breaks it up a little bit, so then they get different tastes of different things, so they're not doing the same thing over and over again and getting bored. And that's the thing with teenagers, is they get bored easily, so trying to keep them engaged. We also do use Easy CBM to help collect data, and I use all that data to help with IEPs and helping them grow in their reading.
Have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher? And if not, when did you decide, or when did the light come on for you?
I've always known that helping people made me happy and brings me joy in life. It wasn't until 10th grade that I wanted to be a teacher. I discovered in my middle school years that I really loved history, and that I wanted to pursue that route, and teaching would be a good opportunity to do that. And I always had fantastic teachers. I always looked up to them and admired them and all they did. So
we're glad that you had fantastic teachers. So my question would be, is there one teacher specifically that inspired you to become a teacher?
Yeah, I had a fantastic 8th grade social studies teacher. His name is Rocco Montesano. He's now retired from where I went to high school. And he taught me things and saw in me potential that I didn't really see in myself at the time. I mean, your parents always tell you, oh, you're capable, you can be successful, but sometimes hearing it from somebody else really drives you and pushes you, and he was that person for me. Some of the things he's taught me, I'm still using today. Organizational skills, he taught me how to critically read, writing skills, because we were doing DBQs back then as well. So a lot of these strategies I'm still using today and passing on to my students as well.
When we look at the St. Lucie Public Schools framework for instruction, DQ5 is all about engagement. But when you're working with students that are struggling or maybe a little behind in an area, how do you plan engagement in instruction for them?
Well, I'm fortunate with Read 180 that a lot of the chapters that they use in the art book are very engaging subjects, like peer pressure and phobias, and they have great fiction stories. There was a whole unit on Edgar Allan Poe. So that when you have engaging material, that helps jumpstart things. I allow what teenagers want to do, which is talk. I let them talk to each other. We use Kagan strategies where they can group and have discussions with each other, have debates. Again, I have that technology piece, so they're on the computer and they're working. And if we want to do a little more research, they want to know more about something, I'll let them go ahead and spend some time looking at what they're interested in. I think the other piece of that is choice, where I allow them to choose what they want to read. My classroom library is not just Read 180 books, it's a bunch of other books that were donated to me, and I've Lexiled them all. So all my students know what their reading level is. They can go to the shelf and say, this looks interesting to me, and it's on my level because of the sticker on the side. So I'm going to be able to read this.
So tell me then, with all the work that you're doing, the grades that you're teaching, the subject matter, is there something new and exciting that you're involved with at your school this year?
Well, this year, this is my first year teaching all 3 middle school grades. My first 2 years at Okamic, I was just doing 7th grade Read 180 intensive reading. This is my first year doing all 3 grades, which is very exciting. I was nervous at first because I haven't dealt so much with 6th graders, but I really do enjoy them. They're still excited and they want to show you what they know. And I love that I have many of my 7th graders again as 8th graders, and I'm seeing them continue to grow and get ready to go to high school.
Okay. Ms. Wigington, let's get you involved in here, but you're the fantastic principal at Okamic. Would you please tell our viewing audience just a little bit about you as well?
Well, I came down to Florida about 10 years ago from Michigan, started teaching at Forest Grove Middle School, love middle school, and then I became an assistant principal over at Port St. Lucie High and then at Northport, and now it's my first year as principal at Okamic, which is an amazing staff. I get to work with Miss Chase, which is great, and a lot of other really hard-working, dedicated teachers.
And you love middle school.
I do love middle school.
Wow.
You know, the K-8 it's a different environment, but it's so positive. You know, you get to see them when they come in some schools pre-K, but kindergarten, and you watch them grow all the way through 8th grade. So it's a great time to see them develop and have a good impact on their lives.
When you visit Mrs. Chase's classroom, what is it that you see and hear?
A lot of energy. The Read 180 program is a very structured program. So there's, like she says, there's certain things you cover in certain subjects and stories, but she is creative enough that she puts her personality, and it's so high energy that the students are engaged the entire time they're in there. There's a lot of higher depth of questioning going on, which you don't normally see in a lot of Read 180 classrooms in some cases, but she definitely challenges her kids, and the kids enjoy going to her classroom, which in an intensive reading, if you've been there a few years, sometimes students start to wane on their enjoyment of the subject, so it's always good to see.
So what other activities do you see your Teacher of the Year involved in that help the total operation of the school? Where do I begin, right?
That's exactly kind of like, she's very hardworking and she's extremely dedicated to our staff and to the students at Okamic. One of the things that I've seen her most involved in is our positive behavior support group, and it's amazing because she's one of the leaders in the middle school and reestablishing a lot of our incentives. She takes it upon herself to meet with the other teachers to share what's going on with positive behavior and encourages teachers who aren't always so comfortable with that mindset. And she's definitely very active and enjoys working with the kids to make sure that they're engaged in a positive structure within the school.
So Mrs. Chase, what impact do you see your instruction having on a student's college and or career readiness?
As you said at the beginning, if you're successful in reading, you're successful for life. You use this skill every single day, and I'm trying to put on my kids that you're going to use the strategies and the skills that you're learning in here in every subject and everything that you do, and getting them ready for more complex texts, because that's what's coming. It doesn't necessarily get easier. It gets more difficult as you go up in years, and I just want my students to be successful with that.
So what advice do you give to students and or parents to help ensure that their child will be a success?
As I said, my students come in struggling, and I tell my students, don't become your struggle, that you can overcome these obstacles, that, again, I'm going to help you. I'm teaching you things that you're going to continue to use to get better. So don't, just because you struggle, don't give up on yourself. You can do it. And I make them track their own data so they can see their own gains, and to see their faces beam when they see that they're making gains and that they're growing means a lot to me. For my parents, I think it's just as important to establish good relationships with parents as it is with the students. I tell my parents at the very beginning of the year, write me a letter. What do I need to know about your student to help them be successful? You know them better than anybody. So it takes a village. And so I like to keep them involved in my classroom as much as I can. If they're interested in something and I don't have books on that subject, say if they're interested in monster trucks and I don't have any books on monster trucks, guess what? I find that out, I'm getting some books on monster trucks. So I can get that student engaged and start to love reading.
As the Teacher of the Year, many eyes are always on you. We look for you to have a model classroom. We look for you to be able to speak to people any and every day. What advice would you give to a new teacher?
To collaborate and don't go it alone. Can be a very lonely journey if you try to go it alone and very stressful. We have so many great people, especially at my school, that they want to see new teachers be successful. So they want to help and they want to support. So ask questions, seek guidance, use your mentor. My mentor technically isn't my mentor anymore, but I still go to her all the time for help and asking her anything. You can ask your administration, you can ask anybody. If they don't have the answer for you, they'll point you in the right direction of where you need to go because they want you to be successful.
Great. Ms. Wigington, please describe Ms. Chase using 3 adjectives.
I've used a couple of them already. One of them is hardworking. She's always at work, no matter what's going on. She'll email me odd hours of the evening just asking questions, inquiring. She's always wanting to be better at what she does, which is really speaks highly of her character when it comes to wanting to be a teacher. Dedication to OCAMIC and the school and our students. In the community, like she said, she involves her parents a lot. She's very dedicated to their success, which is always nice to see, and her creativeness. It's like, like I said earlier, the program that usually is very scripted and structured, she puts so much of her effort into it, into making it as fun as she can make it within the structures and making sure those kids are getting those standards down. Example, that book, she will go out of her way. She was through the book fair with me looking for books for kids that would entice them to want to read. So that's always a big part for her.
So what makes Mrs. Chase the perfect candidate for this Teacher of the Year honor?
I really feel that she deserves this because of how hard she works to help her kids. She gets a lot of those struggling readers, and she has kids who've struggled for years, and she doesn't give up on them. She has a lot of hope for them, and I think that speaks highly of her and why she stands out and why the staff and all of the teachers at our school saw. So it's a really, really good quality in her.
Ms. Chase, a question for you that may cause some reflection, but it's just a question that asks, why are you a teacher?
Again, I've said it before, helping people has always brought me joy. And to help my students be better, not just with reading, but better people in general.
With all that said, then when will you know that you are a success?
Well, I start to see that I'm successful when I start to see students test out of my program and go into regular reading, so that's the first step there. They get to go on to high school and take elective classes instead of being in double block reading and get into things that they really enjoy. So maybe one day there will be a world where intensive reading isn't needed.
No more.
Also, I know when I'm successful when I have students that they don't like reading, but they are able to pick up a book, read it cover to cover, and say, "Miss Chase, that was great. What's next?"
Ms. Wigington, with all that's been said, is there anything else that you want to add so that our viewers would know more about the dynamic Ms. Chase?
She summed up a lot of who she is already for this interview, but I can tell you that she's very dedicated to her kids. And when she speaks about wanting to do more for them and helping them to improve, she's very career-minded, as in, I want to help them get to high school, I want to help them get to where they need to be. And being in a middle school and having taught there myself, a lot of kids lose track and focus. And she keeps them grounded to the point where they're understanding how involved in their education can increase their success as they get older.
So, Ms. Chase, when you think about your life as a teacher or your life in general and everything that you're working to accomplish and do, what is it that you know for sure?
I know this is what I was supposed to do. This is what I was put on earth to do. I know that St. Lucie County is great. I know that they're really involved and dedicated to their kids and training teachers to provide high quality education for those kids.
So finish this phrase for me then. I believe
that all children are capable of success, no exceptions. That's from the Kids at Hope, and I do definitely believe that.
Well, thank you for joining us. And I want to give you these words of William Yates when he said, "Education is not feeling a pale, but lighting of a fire." And I want to thank you for lighting that fire in those students that you teach that may be struggling, that may lack motivation, may be lacking some self-esteem so that they can go on and achieve higher heights. So thank you for all of the work that you do. Thank you for representing such a wonderful field of teachers as our Teacher of the Year, and congratulations on this honor. Thank you, Ms. Wigington, for joining us as well. And once again, congratulations and helping us celebrate here on the Teacher of the Year Celebration Show.
So you see, son, good manners are important. Should I go through it again?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, excuse me, sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If the door's locked, knock first, don't burp, don't swear, don't stare, don't use bad language, or talk with your mouth full, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
Don't interrupt. Cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give your seat up to anybody who has trouble standing. Bottom line, treat others the way you want to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
Good talk.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
We have joining us right now for our Teacher of the Year celebration show, the fantastic Miss Heather Knapp, who's the dynamic Teacher of the Year for Floresta Elementary School. Welcome.
Thank you.
And she's brought along with her the dynamic principal, Miss Donna Gill from Floresta Elementary. Welcome to you as well.
Thank you, Dr. Perry.
We want to congratulate you on your selection as the Teacher of the Year for your wonderful school. And we want our viewing audience to get to know you a little better. So would you please introduce yourself and tell them the grade that you teach and the subjects that's entailed in teaching that grade.
My name is Heather Knapp, and I am the literacy coach at Floresta Elementary, and I am grades K through 5 for the area of literacy and reading.
So this idea of literacy coach, what does that entail for our viewers?
The literacy coach role entails looking at reading and writing together, and I work with teachers and students alike to put forth best practices in reading and writing, and I work closely with my administration and working in planning and putting forth the best needs for my staff and my students there at Floresta.
So as a literacy coach, and I'm going off this idea of coaching, it's a real coaching role, and so that means you may give some professional development.
Yes, I do professional development for my staff in the area of literacy, and I model for teachers, and I work closely with them when it comes to small group instruction and whole group instruction. We work together when it comes to collaborative planning and putting forth best practices in reading, and I work with all students in grades K through 5, so it's pretty much all around and about when it comes to literacy.
So it's like having a playbook, which could be our school improvement plan, and you help them develop and learn better the strategies for implementation so that they can go in and execute and come out with a win.
Exactly.
Good.
Exactly.
So you have to be certified, you had to study, so tell us what school you attended, your major area program of study, and your certifications that you carry.
I went to University of South Florida, go Bulls, over in Tampa, and I did my undergrad there, and I also did my master's there. And currently I am certified in K through 6 elementary education, and I'm K through 12 reading endorsement, which is my master's is in, and I'm also certified in ESOL, English Speakers of Other Languages, as well.
So what's your favorite part of teaching?
Oh, it's a big question, but I think the major part of my favorite part of teaching is the students and working with them, and just being able to be in a classroom and working with teachers and students and inspiring them to want to be better readers and writers.
Because your job involves coaching, helping prepare instructors to better instruct our students, we know that our students come into this world basically with some kind of technology in their hand. So how do you help teachers infuse technology in instruction?
My role is a little bit different in regards to that. So I use technology in a variety of ways. With students, I use it to get on a same level playing field because technology is the world around us now. So I do it to relate and to be up on the know, if you will, with my students so that I can make what we need to accomplish for reading and writing, attainable to them, and so that they can, put their own experiences to it. So I use technology when it comes to different YouTube videos or to expose my students to that. With my teachers in regards to that, I also try and encourage them to model for them how they can use technology to work with the students and to be able to get on, build their experiences when it comes to reading or writing. So I show teachers different blogs that I'm a part of through the reading community. I use a lot of social media, and I am a part of reading strategies that I can implement in classrooms so that they can see, and then I show my teachers where they can utilize those, and also Yammer and different things like that through the district, as well as the sites and stuff like that.
Have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher, and if not, when did you decide?
Not always. I think I grew up always around kids and working with children. It wasn't until I was in my second year of college, and we had to kind of hone in on our major, what it was that we were going to be doing. And my mom says, Heather, you should really think about, you should go into teaching. And I thought, I don't know if that's really it for me, Mom. So I did. I followed her advice, and best decision I ever made. So yeah, it was what I was meant to do.
So when you think about that conversation that you had with your mom, and you reflect back on your years as a student, is there some teacher that you think sticks out that might have inspired you to helped you really hone in on that decision?
Yes, and I think the reading aspect that comes out to it was my third grade teacher, Mrs. Streckengost, and I'll never forget her because she was her reputation preceded her in our short amount of years of elementary school that you never wanted to have her because she was a strict teacher. But I remember day one walking into her classroom, and there was a beautiful reading area, nook set up for all of us to read, and we had a couch and a special little spindle rack that we could put our books on, and she just really instilled a love of reading, and she ended up being my favorite teacher, and she inspired me when it came to reading, and that's where I found my love of books and my love of literature was through her.
When we look at our framework for quality instruction, we immediately kind of shift over to DQ5, and it's all about engagement and keeping students engaged and enthralled about learning. So how do you help teachers plan engagement for students when you're coaching them?
The main thing that I try and remind teachers that when we're planning is you have to do it in chunks and digestible bites for our students. This is such a quick world that we live in, and it's fast-paced that the students want everything right then and there. So we have to make it on their level. We need to make it doable for them, and so that's where we come into what is it that we can relate to our students. So you need to know your students, know their backgrounds. What can I bring into the classroom to help build that understanding of whatever the standard or the skill that we need to get across that week or day or a couple weeks that we're in, and make it really meaningful for the students. So you have to tap into what drives their student in order to plan the engagement for them.
Ms. Gill, you're the fantastic principal at Floresta. Please give our audience, our viewers, just a little bit about your background as an educator.
As an educator, I've been in education for almost over 20-something years, lost count, but it's something I always wanted to do. A lot of my background was in special education. I've taught a range of grades from second grade through tutoring through high school students, and I've done behavioral. I was the assistant principal at Dale Casson's for 3 years and enjoyed that, and then I was principal for the rest of this last year.
So when you visit Mrs. Knapp's room, what is it that you see and hear when she's working with either students or coaching?
When I've seen Heather in the classrooms, she's modeling, and she's more of a facilitator for the students' learning, so that it gets them engaged in doing the work. There's a lot of higher level questioning going on, and really getting the students to understand what they're learning and making sure that they're successful in that task. So there's a lot of monitoring of learning, small group, and same with the planning, and that's what she does when she's doing the collaborative planning with the teachers. She really hones in on the standard and brings the teachers back to the standard when they've lost track of that and what really needs to be taught in that standard by breaking it down. And that is part, she's so knowledgeable in reading, and I sit in the planning sessions with them and just amazed at the teacher asks, well, we're doing main idea, and she can spit out the standard, the reading numbers and everything, and so she's really, really good at that, and she really works with making the teachers accountable to bring in their materials to the planning, but also very resourceful and has a lot to offer them for resources as well.
Okay, Ms. Knapp, Is there something new and or exciting that you may be involved in with this year?
Yes, this year and with Ms. Giel and Mrs. Kame, our assistant principal, we have started the Daily 5, which is a literacy routine that we are implementing school-wide. And it's one that I was trained in my former district, and brought Ms. Giel approached and said, you know, we want to do it as a book study and we want to implement it into the classroom. And it's been wonderful because the teachers have just grabbed hold of it and have run with it, and I'm very proud and very honored that they have taken this on. And it's a lot to, you know, it's a lot to do in addition to what they already have on their plate. And it's just it's been great to see the students want to do the different literacy stations. For example, we have Read to Self, and they send me their minutes every week to help build with the stamina, and they get trophies. So it's a grade level competition that we have going on. And the students are always, that trophy is very highly coveted in the classrooms. And,
I'm sure.
And they definitely work for it, and they're very excited when they have earned it for that week. So the Daily 5 has been instrumental this year, and it's been a lot of fun.
Ms. Gill, we know that all Teachers of the Years are very heavily involved in the total operation of the school. So what activities do you see your Teacher of the Year participating in?
Ms. Knapp, she participates in all the parent nights. She's coordinated a few. We have some more coming up. We're going to do dinner and a bedtime story coming up. We're doing bingo for books. She works a lot with the 21st Century coordinator to coordinate some of the programs there. We did an FSA casino night where parents got to see their kids answering FSA type questions and winning prizes for that. And she also is any fundraising. She participated in the Bowl for Kids' Sake and helping with that. She talking on the way up here. She's going to help me with Relay for Life, coordinate that. Almost anything. She's also our Title I tutoring coordinator for the school as well.
So describe her using 3 adjectives.
Ms. Knapp is passionate, dedicated, and knowledgeable.
Dedicated, passionate, and knowledgeable. So, Ms. Knapp, when will you know that you are a success?
I don't know, Dr. Perry, if I'm a success yet. I think that the true definition of success is you aim towards an accomplishment of a goal or task. I think I have had success in small bits along the way, but I think until I decide to say that education and I have, it's time for that retirement, I feel like I'm on my way to continue to be a success. There are things that I'm still learning and still trying to understand and learn from all those around me that eventually, hopefully at the end, I will have a success.
When you take a moment to reflect, and going back to the conversation held with your mom, thinking that it is the right decision and it was the best decision, as you reflect back, why are you a teacher?
Because honestly, I could not see myself doing anything else. I mean, it's for the inspiring of students. It's the inspiring of other educators. I don't ever want to lose that passion that I have, I want to see my son be able to have an educator that is excited and passionate. We have a great responsibility, and it is shaping the minds of young adolescents that we have, and it's something that I truly, truly love, and I could not see myself doing anything else. This is what I was supposed to do.
Ms. Gill, what makes Mrs. Knapp the perfect candidate for this Teacher of the Year honor?
Wow, there's so much. Her dedication and passion to education is probably the driving force in that. She is always there, puts in the extra hours, dedicated to the students. She dedicated to the school overall. She works hard. She's in before hours, stays late. Anything and everything that is asked of her, she does. I know as a first-year principal, my reliance on her as a literacy coach has been tremendous, and she's always pulled through, even though it's a new role for her. But that knowledge and background that she has just really been beneficial. The teachers look up to her. They seek her out. They ask for her to come in and model. The students just love her. And she helps out with all of them, no matter who, what, where, or when. Just a strong, dedicated, passionate person for education.
Ms. Knapp, what impact do you see yourself having on a student's college and or career readiness?
I think I have a great impact on the entire school's college and career readiness. So it's not just a one student, it's a K through 5. So it's a big job and a big responsibility that I take very seriously. And sometimes I can be a little overzealous with things when it comes to reading, but it's just because I do want all students to be able to succeed in whatever areas that they feel path they are able to go. I feel like I can have whatever small or large impact I can have. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to do that. So
I want to ask this question, and I want you to think about it generally. It doesn't have to be specifically toward education, but it'll be more about who you are and where you are. And when you reflect back on the conversation had with Mom, when you think about the fantastic 5th grade teacher that had that reputation of you not wanting her, but she sparked this love of books and for reading. And when you think about your time as a regular classroom teacher and now coach, what is it that you know for sure?
I know for sure that all students and teachers alike have the opportunity to succeed and to learn something new every day and can have that success or that accomplishment of that task no matter the stipulations or no matter their backgrounds that they come from or wherever it is that is outside of those walls of the school, that every child has the opportunity to be able to learn something.
Ms. Gill, final question for you. Is there anything else that you want to share with our viewers about your fantastic Teacher of the Year?
I just would like to share that, she's, again, just been a godsend to the school for all of us. And I was very, very lucky to have her at Floresta. She has that passion and drive to make the school better and to see that every child is successful. And she's willing, again, to put in that time. And we just enjoy having her.
Final question for you, Ms. Knapp. Finish this phrase. I believe.
I believe that every day I come to work and put in 100% and 110%. I try. And I believe that everybody has the ability and the opportunity to be able to be successful, and we have a great gift that we have been given and responsibility as educators, and I just believe that we have to remember that every single day.
Well, I want to leave you with these words when I say that teaching is the choicest of professions, because everybody who is anybody was taught how to be somebody by a teacher. And we thank you for the wonderful work that you're doing. To you and Mrs. Gill, thank you for joining us on this Teacher of the Year celebration show. And again, congratulations on your selection and this honor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Searching for help with Dachshund Reading.
No.
Let me try. Sarah's bright, but when she's reading, she has trouble sounding out words.
Playing world music.
What?
I give up.
Wait, I was trying to show you how Sarah feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
And at this time, we want to welcome the fantastic Teacher of the Year from Forest Grove Middle School, Dr. Deloris Benjamin, to the Teacher of the Year celebration show. Dr. Benjamin, welcome.
Thank you.
And congratulations.
Thank you very much.
She has with her today the awesome principal, Mr. Terrence Davis from Forest Grove as well. Mr. Davis, welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here.
It is indeed a pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with you and introduce all of the wonderful Teachers of the Year to our viewing audience. The work of teachers in our district makes everything basically work, and they contribute so much to the development of children and to youth that we just like having this opportunity to celebrate them. But because there just might be someone that does not know the wonderful Dr. Benjamin, would you please tell us a little bit about your background here in St. Lucie County as an educator, subjects you teach, those kinds of things.
Okay, sure. And thank you for the warm welcome. My name is Dr. Deloris Benjamin, born and raised in Fort Pierce. Graduated from Lincoln Park Academy, class of 1990. Two-time graduate of Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University.
Somebody had to go there.
Better known as FAMU, yes.
It's okay, it's okay. We still love you, Dr. Benjamin.
Okay. A background in bachelor's in elementary, master's in guidance, and then most currently a PhD from Florida Atlantic University in ed leadership.
You got that one right, Dr. Benjamin. You got that one right. So tell us your certifications.
Sure. Certified in elementary education, recently in ESOL as well. I mentioned the background in guidance and counseling, and I'm working on the ed leadership certification.
And what are you currently doing at Forest Grove?
I'm currently working as a reading teacher, intensive reading, where I teach Read 180, and of course that's a scripted program for struggling readers.
Yes. And in teaching Read 180, the reading program to those students, are you dealing with students grades 6 through 8 or just one grade level?
Just one grade level, and that is 8th grade.
8th grade. So you're preparing those students to move right on to high school.
Absolutely.
Great. Now, you've been a guidance counselor, you've been a teacher, you're coming back in after finishing a PhD. So tell me, what's your favorite part of teaching?
My favorite part of teaching in any capacity that I've held is really inspiring students. I have worked in the past with many students that come from a poverty background, and some of them are incapable of seeing past their current situation. And so what I love to do best is just inspire them to move forward, to move past their current situation, not to use it as a crutch, but to venture out and see what they can do with their current situation.
Now, I know the Read 180 program is a scripted program.
Yes, it is.
Students work at their individual pace. But because I also understand that the students that we're working with basically came into the world with some kind of technology in their hands. When you're dealing with the scripted program, I know that you also have some small group instruction that goes on.
Absolutely.
But how do you then, aside from what they're working on the computer, how do you additionally infuse technology into their learning?
Okay, there's also a technology portion of Read 180 with the program. However, we use many technological games, activities. They use the internet for research projects. Drill and practice. You have simulations, you have virtual tours. If we discuss a geographical location, we now use technology to pull that up, and we can do a virtual tour. So not only am I reading or you're reading to me about a location, now we can actually appear to be in that location.
Go and discover that area.
Right, absolutely.
So, have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher? And if not, when did you discover?
Well, I think as I went along as a youth, I discovered that teaching came easy to me. Of course, Sunday school. I cannot forget that experience, being taught by great Sunday school teachers, my father, Pauline Williams, and the list goes on and on. But then as a youth teaching Sunday school, I knew that I had a gift for that. Just being organized, being able to give directions clearly and have students to follow what I'm asking them to do. It kind of all fell into place. And then when I got to Florida A&M, I was searching for what felt right for me. And education felt right for me.
You mentioned some wonderful names. So I have to follow up by asking, is there someone that actually inspired you to choose to be a teacher?
Well, of course, my parents, I have to mention them. You know, when I'm making a major decision, like picking a college major, I would always speak to them and they would say, you need to do what feels right for you. You need to be happy in the career that you choose. And then I had some awesome high school teachers. I cannot name them all, but one comes to mind, Elizabeth Maloney. I know you're familiar with Elizabeth Maloney. Awesome English language teacher. I mean, she just had the ability to pull you know how we used to say she could make $1 out of 15 cents? I mean, she could, if you felt like you didn't have anything, she could pull it out, you know, and she really inspired me. And also I had a couple college professors that inspired me. Dr. Verdon Evans was in the College of Education. May he rest in peace. He taught me how to build relationships with students. I mean, he would just meet you on the first day and he would ask you, where are you from? And then if you would say Chicago, he would look at you and he would say, okay, Chicago Red, go sit, you know, on row 2. And he would call you that. That was his memory skill for you. And he would call you that until he learned your name. And then you say, oh, I like this professor. And then he would be feeding you this knowledge. And eventually, you know, if at first you may have felt that you could not, you know, absorb his information. But then after he would build that relationship with you, eventually you would just, it would seem like something that just happened overnight. You would eventually just begin to absorb what he was giving you. And he taught statistics. So his course was not educational statistics. It was not easy. So he taught me about building relationships and really inspiring me to teach.
A lot that you've talked about, even though we talked about building relationships and Mrs. Maloney's ability to pull it out, it all goes to engaging the learner. In our framework for quality instruction, DQ5 is all about engagement. So how do you now plan engagement for instruction with your students?
Well, I engage my students just having fun in the classroom. We as adults don't like boring presentations or boring activities. So students, of course, don't enjoy that as well. So playing games, having fun, using technology, as we discussed earlier, to make the lesson engaging, asking them thought-provoking questions, not just the lower order questions, but higher order questions to get them to think more. And teaching them that just because I ask you a difficult question and you don't know the answer right away, that is learning. That's what learning is. Don't become frustrated if you don't know. You have to reason. You have to pull from what you know, your prior knowledge, and then go from there.
Mr. Davis, let's get you a part of this conversation. But because someone may not know the fantastic Terry Davis, would you please give us a little bit about your educational background career?
Oh, sure. I'm currently the principal of Forest Grove Middle School. This is my 6th year there. I really enjoy working at Forest Grove in a leadership capacity, and I enjoy working with the kids and the parents there as well. Prior to that, I was principal at Port St. Lucie High School for 5 years. I was an assistant principal at Fort Pierce Central before that, St. Lucie West Centennial before that, Royal Palm Beach High School before that, and I started my education career in Pahokee teaching in a dropout prevention facility.
So when you visit Dr. Benjamin's class, what is it that you see and hear?
Well, I want to go back to the part about Read 180 being a scripted program. And while it may be a scripted program, it takes a master teacher to teach it well. Because you've got essentially 3 things going on simultaneously in that classroom all period long. So there's an old teaching adage about how you always need that pair of eyes in the back of your head so that you can know what's going on in the back of the classroom. And teaching a Read 180 class, you need 2 sets of eyes because you've got the small group instruction that you're working with in a very direct manner. You've also got a group of kids reading independently, and you've got a group of kids on the computer. And to be able to manage that so that learning takes place takes a master teacher and a teacher who's very good at creating those relationships with students and maintaining them and holding those high expectations. One of the things I noticed in Dr. Benjamin's classrooms is that she doesn't let the kids off easy. I mean, she holds this, this is where I expect you to be, and here's not good enough. And maybe it's not going to happen today, but tomorrow we're going to keep chipping away at it. And I would say that she's relentless in that regard with respect to her high expectations for her students. She also, has in the Read 180 program, she has kids that have traditionally struggled. They're identified as students with reading performance difficulties. Reading's a subject that they find very difficult, and the frustrations from that can lead to classroom confrontations and things like that, and you just don't see that in Dr. Benjamin's classroom. She's able to make the students feel comfortable to work and try hard, and even to fail, and to recognize that that's part of learning.
Dr. Benjamin, as the Teacher of the Year, you often have to speak with groups, with other teachers, with parents. First question, what would you say to a parent and or a student to help ensure that that student becomes a success?
Well, what I would say was, especially for a parent, I would say you are your child's biggest advocate. I always tell parents to be involved, be a participator, not just a spectator. Come out to the school, talk to the teachers, make unexpected visits. I know that teachers don't like that, but the way my parents used to do it, they would just pop up. And they used to be allowed to come and just look through the door to see what was going on in the classroom. And, you know, they may not be able to do that now, but I just tell the parents, become actively involved. Look at your child's homework. Just don't take their word for it. And I tell the students the same. This is your education. I tell them to own it. Mm-hmm. It's not my education. I have mine. And I know that teachers tell students that, but when I say it, I mean in the sense that you need to own it. This is yours.
So what advice would you give to a new teacher?
Well, I've worked with many new teachers and, you know, giving advice, letting them know I'm there for them. But what I would say is hang in there. It gets better. Hang in there. Students are going to push every button possible, even the button behind your last button. They will try to push, but hang in there. It gets better. Remain firm, consistent, never back down on what you say, your expectations, and it will get better.
Mr. Davis, please describe Dr. Benjamin for us in 3 adjectives. I know it's going to be tough, but you can do it. You can do it.
Well, I think I used one earlier, relentless, supportive, and challenging.
Why did you choose those 3?
Relentless because, as I said earlier, she just doesn't give up on kids. She won't take I can't do it for an answer. Supportive because she helps kids along with that and recognizing that they come with deficits in reading by the fact that they're just in that particular reading setting.
So let's go here then. When you think about all of those things with Dr. Benjamin, when you watch her instruction on a regular basis, when you see her working with students, supporting students, being relentless, not giving up on them, not letting them give up on themselves, what makes her the perfect candidate for this honor?
I think the fact that she is able to lead the most challenging students, the citizens of tomorrow, in a fundamental skill such as reading, with which they have experienced challenges to success. I think that she is really taking on a difficult task and is helping ultimately the parents and the community of St. Lucie County.
Mr. Davis just used the word, Dr. Benjamin, and he says success. So let me piggyback off that one word and ask you, when will you know that you are a success?
Well, I'll say there's no one point, but I have little successes as I go. And they build up to, I guess they'll build up to one big success. And for instance, when I'm in the community, in Publix or Walmart, I'm pushing my cart, minding my own business, and I hear a big yell, "Miss Benjamin," from across the store. And then I hear someone running over to me and the parent looking like, where is my child going? And I have former students that walk up to me and say, "Miss Benjamin, you know, you were so tough on me. But you know, I had to do a recital and I used that poem that you taught me in elementary school, or I remembered something you told me. It was a quote when I wanted to give up." And just little successes like that make me know that it will all build up to one great big success.
Mr. Davis, as we come to a close, is there anything else that you want to share with our viewers about Dr. Benjamin?
I think it is just really a tribute to the teaching profession that someone who is a product of St. Lucie County Schools chooses to come back and work here in the same district where she was a student and where she graduated from high school. I think that shows the connection between the community and the teachers in the community. And I think that that's just an extremely valuable asset to have, especially at Forest Grove Middle School.
Thank you, thank you. Dr. Benjamin, just a couple of more questions as we wrap up. When you look at your experiences, when you look at your educational background, when you look at the people that have seeded into your decision to be a teacher, what is it that you know for sure?
Well, what I know for sure is that the things that I've taught students, shared with them about life, about education, about success, comes from a positive place, comes from a person who honestly and sincerely wants to see them grow and become a productive citizen.
So finish this phrase for me then. I believe any student can use what they have, where they are now, to make big changes in the world, to do big things. I do too. And I'll leave you with Einstein's quote when he said, "It is the supreme art of the teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge." And thank you for taking those students that are in your reading class and awakening that joy for creative expression, for knowledge, so that it will propel them to be better and better and reach higher heights. Thank you, Mr. Davis, and congratulations again, Dr. Benjamin, on your selection as Teacher of the Year for Forest Grove Middle School. We look forward to great things from you.
Thank you.
Kids will spend 15 minutes watching online videos like this one.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes, twice a day. They have the time.
And at this time, we want to welcome Miss Megan Varney, the awesome Teacher of the Year from Fort Pierce Central High School, to our Teacher of the Year celebration show, along with Mr. Todd Smith, the wonderful principal at Fort Pierce Central High School. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your selection as the Teacher of the Year for Central High. I know they are duly proud. But because we may have some viewers that don't know you, Ms. Varney, would you please tell us a little bit about your educational background? And you can include the grade you teach, the subject that you teach, where you studied, certifications, any of those things.
Okay. I studied at the State University of New York at Geneseo.
SUNY?
Yep.
SUNY's has a bunch of those SUNYs.
Lots of them, yes.
Yeah.
So, SUNY Geneseo, and I teach 10th grade English at Fort Pierce Central.
Okay, okay. What is your favorite part of teaching?
The kids are just a joy to be around. I like when they have those light bulb moments where all of a sudden they get something that 2 seconds ago they didn't, and that's why I teach. I enjoy that.
When you're teaching English to high school students, you have to also be aware of their surroundings and what they bring naturally to the table by the time they reach 10th grade. But we all know that they come into this world with some kind of technology already in their hand. It's a natural part of them, and it's innate for them to use technology. So how do you purposefully plan the use and infusion of technology in instruction?
I use a lot of games that include technology. I use Plickers, which is this monitoring system that you can use with your kids, like clickers. And then I also try to make sure that they understand the difference between text language and the kind of language you would need when you're typing for an essay or something along those lines.
So how does that go? Because we know that they're short in something, and how is that working?
It's a challenge because it's ingrained in them to write the way that they text. So it's just a lot of repetition and practice.
Wow, well, I can see that being something that students have to really concentrate on, because I've gotten to the point even in my texting that I'm shortening the way we using text language. Have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher? And if not, when did you discover?
It's one of the things that I've always known. Ever since I was little, I liked kids. I was always babysitting. Everybody told me I'd make a great teacher, and it was just a very natural choice for me to make. By the time I was in 10th grade, I knew that I was going to teach.
So Was there a teacher or a set of teachers that kind of inspired you?
I have two teachers who really inspired me. One was Mrs. Miner, 5th grade, and she taught me that the classroom didn't have to be the same for every student, that you could switch things up for kids at varying levels, and she always made sure that we were stretched to our limit so that we could really learn the most that we could. And then I had Mr. Wall, who is a science teacher in 8th grade, and he would give us these really impossible tasks that we thought we could never accomplish, and he just made you really feel good when you did.
So, how did you choose English?
I just liked the subject. I was never a math person, and I always liked to write, so.
Writing and reading? Love of books and language?
Oh, yes.
Cool, cool. When I also think about the use of technology for instruction, I know that these students, we do our best to heavily engage students. And when you look at our quality framework for instruction, it talks about DQ5 being all about engagement. So again, I ask, how do you purposefully plan the use of engagement for instruction?
One thing that I worked really hard on, it was actually my deliberate practice plan a few years ago, was to incorporate movement. So I try to get my kids standing. A 90-minute block is a long time for them to sit. So I try to get them moving, doing group work. But then there's also a component of my personality that's very outgoing with the kids, and I try to stay excited and upbeat. And I think that they feed off of what their teacher's energy level is.
So doing your work at Forest Grove, is there something new and or exciting that you're working on specifically this year?
The biggest thing is we just got new textbooks this year, so we're revamping our entire English curriculum to try and increase our rigor to meet the Common Core standard.
Let's get Mrs. Smith involved in this conversation. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Welcome again, Mrs. Smith. It's a pleasure to have you joining us. Tell us a little bit about your educational background so that our viewers will know a little bit more about the dynamic Mr. Todd Smith, principal at Fort Pierce Central High School.
Well, again, I'm familiar with SUNY Geneseo, as I grew up in upstate New York, went to St. Lawrence University, graduated from there in 1990, and then went to the master's degree at Nova Southeastern University down here in Florida. Been teaching education about 22 years now. So we have a New York connection here with Ms. Varney and I.
Yep. Yeah, but you guys make me feel really old when you say 1990. Okay, all right. Mrs. Smith, when you visit Ms. Varney's classroom, what is it that you see and hear?
Things you can't measure. You can't measure passion, and you can't measure the level of engagement of the students solely with the framework. What we have to do is understand what the intellectual conversations that they're having. That's difficult to measure, but when you go in there and you talk about the authenticness of our conversations with the students, it's very prevalent. More importantly, you see all students engage regardless of, could be documented disabilities. Because you walk into that classroom, everybody, like you said, has a voice and everybody has a purpose in that classroom, and they have an opportunity to participate 100%. Engagement is almost 100% in their classroom.
So, Ms. Varney, as the Teacher of the Year, we often call on those persons selected to that position to speak to many different people. It could be community members, it could be parents, it could be students or other teachers. What would you say to a parent and or a student to ensure that that child is a success?
One of the things I've done in my classroom in the past is give each kid a meter stick, and they have to balance it on their hand. And the first time they look only at the bottom where it touches their finger, and they have to clock how long it takes them, how long they can balance it. And then when you ask them to look at the top of the stick and do it again, they can always do it better and longer when they're looking at the top of the stick. And I always relate that to when you have your end goal in mind, you can always correct yourself before it gets to be a problem. So I just tell them to keep the end in mind.
Keep the end in mind. That's a great way to start. Start with the end in mind. What advice would you give to new teachers?
Just keep swimming. It's a tough road. It's the first year is the hardest, and it gets better every year from there.
And sometimes you just have to tread water, right?
Exactly.
I understand. I do understand. Mr. Smith, again, let's ask you this. I know that to be Teacher of the Year, that person is involved in the total operation of the school. So what activities is Ms. Varney involved in on your campus?
The most important one, I think you just addressed last couple seconds ago, is new teacher development. Right now, she's challenged with a growth opportunity, training new teachers to Fort Pierce Central High School. even teachers that have had experience in other counties or other states, she works with those individuals. She sets forth their curriculum and academic focus calendars and prepares them for, date certain timelines. And right now she knows that there's 38 days before we take the ELA writing component of the, FSA. She also knows that, we got to work with the social studies teachers also, and math teachers and all the teachers to make sure that we have writing across the curriculum.
So everybody writes.
And the other thing about that is in the summer, she looks at, reflects upon what was very successful and what we need to improve upon. So in the summer, she has a team of teachers and she writes curriculum for the first 45 days of the academic calendar year for next year. So she's been very instrumental in that. She also writes her own LBQs for the students. But more importantly, we talked about technology. She's instrumental in bringing additional courses to our school. This year went forward to Curriculum Council, and she wants to bring a course called Social Media to the school. Right now, Florida Virtual teaches it. A number of universities teach it. But we have to understand that, as 10th graders, it's paramount to their success, and that, the ethics involved with social media and the interactions, the appropriateness of it, and how it can get you in trouble.
Mrs. Smith, describe Ms. Varney, please, with 3 adjectives.
Confident, compassionate, and driven.
And tell me why those 3.
Those 3? Because she looks at the whole picture of all the students without projecting barriers. There are no barriers in Ms. Varney's classroom, and she understands that, their goal right now is not a letter grade. Their goal is graduation and preparing them for success in college and or the military, or even a career in the technology field or wherever they may desire to move forward.
Perfect lead-in for my next question for Ms. Varney. How do you impact a student's career and our college readiness?
I think the most basic way is I teach them the skills that they need for college, reading complex text and learning how to write about what you've read. But even more than that, I think I help them understand that sometimes it's going to be difficult what you're trying to do, but that you can't give up just because something is hard.
So when you look at yourself total, why are you teaching? Why are you a teacher?
It's because of my students. I remember what it was like in high school, and it's not an easy time for kids, and I like to be the person who helps get them through that.
Mrs. Smith, what makes Ms. Varney the perfect candidate for this Teacher of the Year honor?
By willfully accepting all challenges as they're presented. Here's a new curriculum, here's a new textbook, you write it for us so it meets the needs of our students. There's not one canned approach. She's able to look at that and digest that. She's also an instructional leader, as I mentioned. She's looking at additional courses to add to Fort Pierce Central High School's academic catalog. But more importantly, she doesn't take no for an answer. And when we say, no, we can't do that, she finds a way to do that. It's in the best interest of all the students and teachers on campus.
Ms. Varney, think about the total picture again. And when will you know that you are a success?
The most difficult thing about knowing that is that a lot of times in education our goals are changing. But when I look around me and I see all of my teachers are working really hard for our kids, and all of our kids are working really hard for our teachers, I think that's a pretty clear indication that I'm on the right path.
Mr. Smith, your wrap-up question. Is there something else or any other information that you want to share with us about your Teacher of the Year, Ms. Varney?
I think on a personal approach, we sit here and we count with date lines. We already talked about 38 days until ELA exam and FSA tests. But the most important thing, I just thank you for what you do on behalf of the students and teachers at Fort Pierce Central High School, because we're busy, but we don't recognize the impact that you have on students. So thank you.
Ms. Varney, I'm going to ask you once again to reflect on your career as an educator, to think about the time that you spend planning and preparing, think about the time that you spend training teachers, providing that kind of development for them, preparing students to make sure that not just about the grade, as Mr. Smith mentioned, but about graduation. And what is it that you know for sure?
I know for sure that I can't expect my students to do their very best work when I'm not doing mine. So to that end, I'm always trying to hold up my end of the bargain for my kids.
Finish the phrase, I believe.
I believe that my students deserve the best of me, and I work really hard to give them that.
Let me finish then with the quote from Jonathan Edwards when he said, "Teachers and learners are correlates, one of which was never intended to be without the other. Thank you for always being there for the students at Fort Pierce Central High, preparing them for what's next for them, for their future. Thank you, Mr. Smith, for joining us, and congratulations on your selection as a Teacher of the Year for Fort Pierce Central High School.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Simon, what do people wear?
Clothes.
That's right, so it's important to learn how to dress yourself. Here's how it's done. Shirt, underwear, pants, socks, shoes. Underwear, always first, name tag on the back. Then pants and shirt. Go ahead and put this on. Now with the shirt, you want to make sure the first button's right or you have to start all over again, okay? Socks left on left, right on right. Tying the shoes, we're gonna take the laces, we're gonna cross them over, we're gonna turn around where the bunny goes down in the hole, pull it tight, and bunny ears. Got it?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
And at this time, we want to welcome to our Teacher of the Year celebration show, Miss Heather Nesmet, who's the fantastic Teacher of the Year for Fort Pierce Magnet School of the Arts. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
And she has along with her the dynamic principal, Miss Jacqueline Lynch, from Fort Pierce Magnet School as well.
Thank you for having us.
And I have to get this out because I think you guys still do it there. Anytime somebody says FP, you come back and say MSA. Yeah, from my days, you know, it's a great place. I love that beautiful yellow brick building. It is totally awesome, if you ask me.
Beautiful.
Ms. Nesmet, we want to celebrate you as the Teacher of the Year, but we also want our viewing audience to have an opportunity to get to know you. So would you please share with them a little bit about your background and just introduce yourself, and you can include the subjects that you teach, grade that you teach, where you studied, your certifications, any and all of those kinds of things.
Okay. I teach at Fort Pierce Magnet, and I teach first grade. I've been in the first grade classroom for 6 years. I was at Garden City Early Learning Academy beforehand. I went to school in Ohio and graduated from Wittenberg University and have just been in the classroom since, loving it.
So what is life like in the first grade classroom?
Busy, constant, exciting, fun.
Yeah, an extension, you know, I was talking earlier, it's like everything I ever really needed to know I learned in kindergarten, but when you can begin to see the building of that once they go to first grade and move through, I can see how those little hands, the pitter-pat of those feet, just moving, squirming around. Constant, busy, exciting. I do understand that. Being a first grade teacher, what would you say is the most exciting part of teaching?
I'd have to say really all of it, because we get to do all of it. We get to do reading, writing, math, science, social studies, technology. We get to do a little bit of everything as opposed to just looking at one subject area.
Speaking about technology, we know that the students that you're teaching were basically born with some type of technology in their hand. So how do you plan for and infuse technology into your daily instruction?
We use the CAV system where I project onto the screen and the children follow along with that. They also use the computers themselves for the different programs that we have for them to use. I also have the children write their own story and a story about themselves, and they type it onto the computer themselves, and then they're allowed to present it to the class.
Have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher? And if not, when did you discover that you did?
I've always known that I wanted to be a teacher. I remember as a child setting up animals and teaching class to them and making up tests and worksheets for them. And it's just something that has never really been a thought for me.
Would you say that there is a teacher or teachers that inspired you to become a teacher?
Yes, most definitely. I've had teachers that have just taken the time with me and worked with me on different subject areas that I struggled in and went above and beyond that to make sure I succeeded in those subjects, both in elementary school, middle school, and high school.
When we think about our framework for quality instruction here in St. Lucie Public Schools, DQ5 is about engagement. And when you understand the pitter-pat of the little feet that are always busy and squirming around, discovering as well as learning in your room, how do you purposefully plan the use of engagement for instruction?
Well, I think engagement is huge for the children in all different levels. We move around the classroom quite a bit, from carpets to chairs, or just in exploring the classroom itself. I try to have the activities connected to them in some way so that they are engaged and connected with the assignment that we're working on.
This year, as you're planning, as you're preparing, as you're going about your daily work, is there something new and or exciting that you're involved in this year?
This year I've had somebody come in and videotape me, which was the first time I've ever done that.
Wow.
And I'm presenting more PD with my fellow colleagues and to my colleagues.
So tell us about the videotaping. I remember that from my college days.
It was very interesting. I really did enjoy it. They were very kind to me when they came in. It wasn't as stressful as I thought it was going to be. And I'm kind of, it is what it is. You get what you get, and I love it. And I love what I do, so hopefully that comes through, and that's what everybody gets to see.
Mrs. Lynch, again, welcome to this Teacher of the Year celebration show. Because our viewing audience may not know you as well, give them a little bit about of your educational background.
I started as a 4th grade teacher, then 1st grade teacher, and then middle school reading teacher, and I taught at Fort Pierce Magnet 13 years ago as a 7th and 8th grade reading teacher. Then moved to assistant principal in 2 different schools, and then became my first year principal at White City 9 years ago.
So when you visit Ms. Nesmet's 1st grade classroom, what is it that you see and hear?
Before you're even in the door, she has all of her students' accolades highlighted around the door, so there's celebration before you even step in. You see certificates of achievement, you see compliment parties that they've earned, so I'm not even through the threshold, and I can see this celebration and affirmations take place in this classroom. Then when I open the door, it's very calm. The way she is now is as loud as she gets in the classroom, unless she's being silly and fun. But there, you notice immediately things are color-coded. It's a lot of order. Children know where to go, how to get there. They know their transitions are swift and immediate, and instruction is prompt. And you can see the planning that takes place before the lesson even begins, because all her materials are well organized. And throughout her lesson, she is overwhelming the students with positivity, and when they make a mistake, she'll keep probing the student until they get it correctly in a very positive way, so everybody feels good and everybody feels accomplished when they're finished with that lesson.
As the Teacher of the Year, Ms. Lynch, she's got to be heavily involved in just the total operation of the school. So what other activities that she's involved in to help the school just run, function?
Well, she's one of our ambassadors for Kids at Hope. She attends the ceremonies every month. She lives the philosophy of Kids at Hope within our faculty meetings, within the classroom itself. Whenever she is in a forum where she has the ear of other professionals, she shares and ensures that the logo is on every piece of printed matter that's leaving the school.
I understand.
Yes, additionally, PBIS, she's part of that and has been a successful team member of PBIS for a few years now.
Ms. Nesmet, as the Teacher of the Year, you're often called to speak to somebody, be it the parents, be it kids. What would you say to a parent or a student to make sure that that child is a success?
I think every child is successful in their way. I think working with them and that continuous working and keep going with the child, I think if it's not working the first time, there's several other ways we can meet and get to the point that we need to where that child feels successful.
What would you say then to a new teacher? What advice would you give that person?
I would say it's okay. It will all get done. It's very overwhelming, I remember, and it will all get done. We are all here for you. My door is always open. Let me know what I can do.
It always gets better too, doesn't it?
It does get better and better.
Yeah. Mrs. Lynch, describe Ms. Nesmet, please, in 3 adjectives.
Empathetic, passionate, and extremely enthusiastic.
Tell us why.
She's had a few situations where students have presented an unfortunate situation. One most recently with parent approval, She did celebrate one of her students was declared NED, no evidence of disease, that had been suffering from cancer for a few years, and this is just a first grade child. So she was very passionate and empathetic in the way she presented a celebration of life for the child, and the family was there at our Kids at Hope ceremony.
Great.
And it was not there were not a bit of dry eyes in that audience.
I'm sure.
She embraced the situation and celebrated the life of this child, and invited the entire class to celebrate it as well. And it was a beautiful ceremony.
Hearing all of that, why are you a teacher? I'm anxious to hear your answer to this.
I personally struggled learning myself, and to have the teachers do what they did for me to make sure I was successful just really put me on that path of that's what I need to do. I need to make sure children are successful no matter what, because everybody is. And everybody can do it. Different ways, different levels, different timing, but everybody can do it. And to be a teacher and to watch them grow and learn and get excited about learning.
Let's jump on that word success. Cause for a little more reflection from you. When will you know that you are a success? I know.
I think when my children are successful, I then feel success. When I have had children come back to my classroom a year or two later showing me how they have grown in that area that they maybe struggled in my class. So I somehow had something to do with that, even if it's very little and I sparked it or I gave them the building block to build even further upon that. I think they're amazing.
Mrs. Lynch, final question for you. Is there anything else that you want to share with our viewers about your fantastic Teacher of the Year?
Well, this is actually her second time she's been Teacher of the Year. 2 years ago, she was also recognized as Fort Pierce Magnet School of the Arts Teacher of the Year. So just that fact alone demonstrates that her peers celebrate the performance that she does in the classroom and also how she presents herself in and amongst the professional community as someone that's quite deserving of this distinguished honor.
2 times Teacher of the Year for Fort Pierce Magnet School of the Arts, a dynamic first grade teacher, inspiring, motivational, a lot of empathy, compassion. What is it that you know for sure?
I love what I do. I cannot imagine doing anything else. I love watching my kids grow. I love watching them learn. I love watching them finally get something that they've struggled on, and now they've got it. And they can then build upon that. And then they get even more excited when they've added a piece to that puzzle.
Okay, so finish this phrase for me if you would. I believe
all children are capable of success, no exceptions.
Well, let me share with you then the words of William Arthur Ward when he said, "The mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, the great teacher inspires." Thank you for being an inspiration to all of those wonderful students in first grade at Fort Pierce Magnet School of the Arts, and for representing our entire teaching field here in St. Lucie Public School as the Teacher of the Year for Fort Pierce Magnet School, and inspiring us all to do better and be better for the wonderful children. Thank you, Mrs. Lynch, also for joining us. And to all of our viewing audience, when we celebrate the Teachers of the Year, we must all realize that they have chosen the most challenging and most rewarding profession there is or will ever be. Imagine the light in the eyes of a newly motivated student, the smile on the face when a seemingly unfathomable concept is finally grasped. So to all of our teachers, we say thank you for being such wonderful teachers, exemplary role models, and caring people. Thank you for knowing your subjects and sharing your knowledge. Thank you for not being afraid to treat students like real people. Thank you for showing acceptance, approval, and appreciation. Every day you make a difference, and every day you do that something that truly matters. Every day you leave an undeniable mark on the future, and for that, we celebrate you.